and welcome to a very special Halloween episode of Comic Books and Craft Beer. We are here to discuss Saga, and we are dressed unrelatedly.
Totally different.
Just happened to this.
Yeah.
I rolled out of bed like this.
I mean, I put a little bit of time into this, but it's because I have, something to do after.
Got it. I usually do my hair different.
Yeah.
So, this is what happens.
And you have lots of it right now, so it's good.
It's lush.
Yeah.
We are very excited to. Oh no!
Well,
it's Ryan.
Aww.
It's Ryan talking about Mint Mobile.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
I'm getting my own ad for my show. This is what happens. Mint Mobile, call me. We'll do a comic books and phone show next. I'm very excited because we're trying completely random beers. These beers were not curated by Tim Hour. They weren't curated by anything except for a loose understanding of what we enjoy.
They were curated by some stuff I already had chilling in the fridge, and for me going into Vendome Liquor in Studio City. I think it's Studio City, or it's Toluca Lake. I don't know. It's in the valley, and the owner being like, "Oh, you like good beer? Good. I'll show you some." So I'm very excited, and I told him I don't like IPAs, and he suggested an IPA. So
listening skills and comprehension.
But we tried that IPA the first show, and it didn't suck.
I think we're being convinced to try more IPA. That's way better.
That's way. That actually looks really good.
Happy Halloween, you lovelies.
Happy Halloween.
This is the future. So we should talk to like local liquor stores and be like, this episode's sponsored by.
Actually, yeah, because
if you're a local liquor store and you would like us to talk about your favorite beers, we'll do that for the cheap price of just beers.
Yeah, you give us beers and we'll drink them.
We'll talk all about the beers, whatever you need.
It's a great plan.
It's a very shameless, selfless skill.
Hey,
all right.
So are we starting with?
I think we should.
Yeah.
So this is Jameson Coldbrew. We talked about it at length last week. And Liquor Before Beer, you're in the clear, so I think we talked about it at length this week.
Right, and we also drank too much of it last week, so we learned our lesson. But basically, this time I poured. It's so good, though.
That's why you pour heavy.
It's so good.
It's just this tastes like cold brew.
Yeah, I also think it's just smart for us to start. I was on set all day today. Coy is always doing 4,000 things too.
Yep.
So this is my
3 shows today.
This is my wake me up juice. You have 3 shows today.
3 shows today. And like one of them wrapped an hour before we did this one. I'm gonna be doing a lot of this.
No, this is fine. It's fine. You're
just slowly caressing my horns.
You're definitely cosmic girl mode. Wait, you're pushing them down too much. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. You wear your horns the way you want.
It's true. They're my horns. I define my horniness and me alone. That won't be the last time that's said in this episode.
Nope.
Mark my words.
Marco, your words.
So, excellent tangent by Jenny Newman. We're going to be talking about Saga, Volume 2. That is hardcover 2. This book is beautifully rendered in single issues in trades, and my favorite in hardcover. This is a 3 hardcover series to date. We are halfway through the series. It's going to be 6 in total. We're on Volume 2, which is issues 19 to 26? 36?
No, because there's a...
Oh, it is 54, so 36. 19 to 36.
Math!
18 times 2 is 36.
Yes.
19
to
36.
It, guys.
Look at us go, 1 whiskey in. It's my first drink of the day. I'm excited to talk about this saga of Saga because this is where, to me, it gets into we trust all the characters. We trust the writer, we trust the artist, and I feel like they were already taking bold chances, but you meet some characters that wouldn't work in other series in this arc.
1000%.
Yeah, this arc is like, hey, you bought the first 18, let's dance.
And see, this arc for me is not my favorite at all. This is the thing to get past for me.
No shit.
There are elements and pieces that I enjoy.
Okay.
But the stories, I only remembered them because I didn't like them as much, because they didn't grab me as much, the overall story.
I feel like this is the most painful of the 3, except for the end of 3 to me. Because this is the one where they're like, the family's ripped apart the most. Yeah. There's betrayal in a personal level instead of on like a, not surface, but like all the betrayals feel like they're like, the knife's already in, now they're twisting it, this arc. So this is Empire to me. Like, this is the Empire Strikes Back arc of like, desolation.
I don't get that as much. I just feel like there's a lot of meandering. And it's good, we're establishing character boundaries. We're giving people challenges that are internal rather than external. We're kind of going into the zombie horror trope where it's like, it's not what's happening outside, it's coming apart from the inside while still having lots of outside. Like, these people go through so much. Yeah.
And the people we meet immediately go through so much. I'd say this arc is the ones that, like, the character arcs don't get timed, and then they just kind of, like, we lose them.
Well, that was my big realization, because I was rereading and finishing last night, and realizing this is when it gets kind of Game of Thronesy.
And you know what? It's funny because you wrote that in the notes, and I can't stand Game of Thrones, and I love Saga. And I wanted to talk to you about, like, what's that parallel for you? So maybe I'll like Game of Thrones more. Oh, I was afraid of that happening the whole time. What if they rest?
No.
Now I'm a Star Wars character.
No, I'm gonna cut you open and sleep inside of you before.
I smell better on the outside.
There you go. Excuse us. Wardrobe sniffing in. Here. Hold it here.
It's the mohawk.
Stop touching it. It's gonna be great, guys. We're doing great. This is...
I'm such a disheveled horn beast.
It's perfect though. It's Marco.
Ready. So yeah, Marco's never kempt.
Just don't touch it.
I'll just try to. I keep trying not to lean when I drink because like gravity. So.
Oh yeah. Well, it's you know what? This is just gonna be, and at some point the horns are gonna come up, and it's okay.
But not yet. So parallels, because right. I have not vibed with Game of Thrones to date.
So I'm one of the people who read Game of Thrones before.
Mm-hmm.
So but I'm not one of those book purists.
Okay.
I did love the way the show ended. That's a whole other thing. But I love the different choices it made because it's a different medium.
Yeah.
So people got mad. Oh, they said this character was the one who said it in the book, but that character said it in the show. I'm like, yeah.
Comic fans.
It also changed. It's like it changes the impact. It changes the storyline. It has to exist as its own creative life.
It's its own art.
Yeah, exactly. It's its own art form. So, like, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
And that's why I want to understand. I want to understand. Teach me.
The exact parallels, and this is spoilery, but not. If you really like a character, something awful is going to happen to them.
Yeah.
If someone
I see. Okay.
If someone is moody and kind of standoffish, if they suddenly start smiling and are happy, you're like, oh, she's going to die. Oh, he's going to die. Or, oh, something bad's about to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's something is going right, which means that that House of Cards is going to topple. Or, see, in Game of Thrones, just everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing good happens. Yeah, nothing good happens. But it's so good.
I feel like I was deceptive. This was more deceptive than Game of Thrones.
So what I mean, and this is how this is different, is that Saga has balance, where something incredible happens and is balanced by incredible loss.
Yeah.
So it isn't just that a couple finds each other and then one person dies immediately. It's that a couple finds each other as they lose something precious to them that they then have to spend arcs and arcs chasing after.
Right.
Which we'll get into later when we get into Spoiler Town. But
I feel like this whole arc is the chase of something thereafter. Like,
yeah.
And it's for our leads versus our supporting. Because the first arc is arguably our supporting cast chasing our leads.
Yeah.
The first arc is that big chase. And this arc is our leads chasing more existential things. Like family and trust and fidelity.
And then quite literally each other.
Yeah. So I feel like this arc is closer to our family in a weird way.
I just got like chills thinking about that.
Like it's about the definition of fidelity. Like everything is a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like this arc, because you can't do those stories in the first arc because you don't know them well enough to give a shit.
Right. That's fair.
So I mean, to me, I can't compare. Before we do Volume 3, I want to read all 3 again, because I didn't reread 1 or 2 because I had read them within the last 2 years.
Also because I had the volumes.
And also because I was trying not to throw it under the bus. But also she physically had the books of mine. But Volume 3 I've only read once, because when I finished reading, that's all I've read it. So I think going into our Volume 3, which maybe Thanksgiving, we'll keep this holiday theme, sometime in Thanksgiving in November, but reread all of them and then look at the unit.
Or we quite literally have Friday the 13th.
In November?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We could do that.
And if we do maybe that'd be the Saga and Spirits one. Maybe fuck beer. Just do the whole like Saga and Spirits and Friday the 13th.
I have some insanely good scotch, you guys. The only thing is that it would be a terrible advertisement, because all the scotch I have is stuff you can't get. Not all of it, but
it'd also be terrible comprehension, but that sounds fun.
I love it.
And I have absinthe you can only get in one store.
Okay.
So maybe we do like obscure, just for us alcohol that other companies can then send us as well. Again, shameless. We will drink your booze. So from Jason Ritchie, Jason says, missed the last few live streams and can't wait to watch live tonight, but wanted to show some love. Jason Ritchie, Thank you as ever. Jason and I worked together at a restaurant in Boston.
Oh my god.
I've known Jason for 10 years. Jason, welcome. Always a pleasure.
Thank you,
The
Jason.
man loves
Hello.
good beer. He's the one that bought us the first bottle of Jameson that we're drinking now.
Bless you, sir.
Yes, so Mr. Ritchie, this is in your honor and very much appreciated.
Incredible.
So let's dive into some of your notes because you
Right.
have a very specific set of things that called you in the story arc, and I'm trying to remember them through that lens. Last time we did a very analytical Coy approach of like character, location, art. I'm a Virgo and I lived it. This time
And
we're
it
going.
took us 3 hours. So actually, before we get into that, let's get into our first beer.
Let's.
So our first beer is something that actually my friend Eric Cherry, who is also my dungeon master in one of my campaigns.
Before we do this is
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Do you remember Comic Works with Jimmy, the one
Yeah.
that didn't like Saga that much?
Yeah.
It's official. Hey guys, I went back and read the first 2 volumes of Saga again and was better than when I first read You Guys Were Right. I just had to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. That is all we aspire to.
If you're going to interrupt me to tell me I'm right,
That's fair.
amazing.
That's when you interrupt. Jimmy, thank you.
Fantastic. Also, thank you for giving it a shot and rereading it.
That's literally why we do the show. We want to bring
Yeah.
awareness to both beer and comic books. And you were not a fan. You were actively. That's even further away from not enjoying it. You actively didn't think you liked it, and then still gave it another chance. So you, sir, thank you.
And that's also a thing. If you reread it and still didn't like it, you at least put the effort into giving it a shot.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate that, just as like a moment of character growth.
Right.
Right?
That's awesome. So thank
Good
you,
job.
Jimmy.
Good
Hell
on
yeah.
ya.
All right, now we have beer. I guess
Right.
that was a moment.
So my friend Eric Cherry, who is also my DM, he's like an incredible storyteller and also just a really fun, nice guy. He's also a great bartender, as many people in LA are.
But they can trust them with beer.
But he brought this back for me from Texas. It is Wild Acre Brewing Co. Agave Americana. So it is an agave
I love agave.
beer, and I am super curious because I have no idea what to expect here.
I can't even think of agave flavor palette in beer.
Well, yeah, because when I think agave, I think, well, I either
Like
think,
sweet, like nectary, like tequila for me.
well, I either think agave sweetener, or I think about mezcal, which I love mezcal, which is not sweet, which is barbecued.
We could also do mezcal and Saga spirit.
Oh my god, no, that's a different night. Mezcal.
Ooh.
No!
That's
Incorrect.
Hellboy, mezcal, and mescaline. Just have like an existential
You
crisis
know
of
what?
Guillermo del Toro.
Actually, you want an existential crisis? I'm gonna look straight into camera. So camera it's on the left side of your phone, right?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't read Hellboy, and I haven't seen the movies.
Any of them?
None of them.
There's 3, and 2.5 third of them are very good.
I have a very long list. I have a very long list.
So maybe we do a special where Comic Books and Craft Beer is a watch along. Like we do the same branding, but for us drinking and watching a comic movie. That way, there's less
that'd be fun.
like we could make your first Hellboy. It could be
That could be when we branch out to Twitch streaming.
ooh yeah. And at some point we have to get with the times.
We actually probably should.
I had to learn how to YouTube, so I'm getting with the times to 12-year-olds. I'm learning. I had to set this all up and hope for the best.
All right. This is a really beautiful color.
I'm excited.
Here you are, sir. Dear sir. To our
Very floral.
Okay, it's light,
Mhm.
obviously, but it's a really beautiful color.
And it smells so nice. I'd buy this well, I wouldn't buy the perfume because it's a little too light for me.
It smells like a spring day in the desert.
Poetic.
It's like that slightly warmed.
It tastes like a spring day in the
That's
desert.
floral.
Yeah, it's super
What the
floral.
hell is this? What?
That sweetness of agave translates, and it's super light. It's like effervescent. It almost has a like a sparkling water quality to it.
Yeah, it's. I was gonna say it's like the La Croix of beers, but that would be an insult because La Croix has no flavor.
Yeah.
It has no
La
flavor.
Croix is
Or
closing your
LaCroix?
eyes
LaCroix?
and someone yelling a flavor at you while you drink sparkling water.
No, it's the flavor existed in the room a few weeks ago, and you came in as like the. Oh, it's gone.
What's that concept?
Hecho con nectar agave y lima. Oh yeah, agave and lime. 6.2%. It's actually more than I would think for
Oh, that
this.
is very strong for how this tastes.
This is
Highly recommend Wild Acre.
Yeah.
A bartender recommended, and we now recommend. E. Walter says, best part of these shows is going to Venmo and finding some of these beers so I can drink them. We're doing both the comic book work and the craft beer work, and that makes me very happy.
This is lightly honeyed. It's almost like and I mean this in the best way, like a watered down wildflower honey.
Yeah. It's almost got like a Manuka quality to it where it tastes healthy.
Yeah.
This is that healthy beer.
Yeah.
This is that getting you safe and better prepared for the world beer.
Let's just tell ourselves this is healthy beer.
I always do.
Cherry.
This is exceptional.
This is really good, dude.
This is a very good beer.
Thank you. To be fair, he has very good taste.
Yeah.
So, I've got some friends who are bartenders who are the type of guys who make the really sugary shit, and bless their hearts, they don't have the best taste.
That's not beer. I mean, that's not even drinks.
No. This is just gonna be the shows you struggling with the horns. I'm okay with this.
Okay, so
right.
Your first thought while we were on our first beer.
So one of the very first things that I wrote down, and it isn't even a spoiler, this is just an overarching theme. They established this in the first book, is that Wreath and Landfall are fighting. Landfall being the main planet with people with the wings, Wreath being the moon, with everyone with the horns, and it's that whole bullshit long form combat that's been going on for so many generations that people don't even know why they're fighting anymore. They just hate each other. But they really drive home. Like, we kind of got the horrors of the outsourcing of war in the last one, but they focus more on it this time. And what they actually do, and it's part of how we get a really great character introduction, is they kind of get into the horrors of how different planets and different peoples have been affected by being roped into this conflict. Like in the first one, we get Isabella the babysitter. We get the poor little mouse
doctor.
Medic.
I love that the mouse doctor doesn't even have a name, but it's so horrific that it's so memorable.
She just breaks my heart when I think about her now.
It's like 7 frames.
Yeah.
Like, it's so tiny, like Fiona Staples. I don't know how you break my heart so efficiently.
Oh. What a fucking artist. Just.
But that war is much more traditional. That's much more of cinematic, like American. We're gonna take a horn break.
Well, and I know how to fix it now going forward. I'm gonna make it a little tighter.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do
this
while we're talking.
It's slowly pulling my. I can feel my cranium being tight.
So and actually one of the first lines I wrote down, and this is, I always forget his name, but he's the winged guy who's the special agent. He's like almost like CIA. He says the whole blonde douchebag. The whole point of having enemies abroad is getting to ignore the ones back home. And then where else did I write it down? Oh no, there's a different point later about books, but yeah, they really drive home. I mean, you get that with Prince Robot is one of the main characters, but we still they're just kind of conscripted. Yeah. They're just part of it. And in the first book, we really see the intense wealth disparity. Like, this is, this exists here, sometimes in the U.S., but even more so overseas, where you have the shanty towns next to the palace. That's just San Francisco. I say that as someone from Marin County, where the Tenderloin was right next to one of the main really ritzy shopping districts.
Yeah. So, but look at downtown here. Look at Franklin. There's some lines that are just the same as what San Fran was 10 years ago. We're catching up. And then that's what's interesting to me about this commentary on war is war isn't just the battlefield. And this volume, to me, obviously everything needs to escalate the story, but this volume escalates the commentary on war into the battle at home, the PTSD concepts, the residual effect of surviving the war. Like, this volume takes all of the seeds and it nourishes them beautifully. Like, there is no stone left unturned, and that allows for the third volume, which we'll do in November, to be kind of this more climactic denouement and then horror. Like, the last page of volume 3 is one of the most horrific things in comic books, and without them coming to some conclusions in this volume, we couldn't have had that story told. Like, volume 3 is so dense that I think the meandering that we talked about needs to happen.
We needed it.
Yeah.
God, you just said something that I just blanked on, but it was talking about, this is just going to be me today. PTSD. So that was one of my talking points of the first one, was PTSD. And this time we actually get to see, it leads into then addiction. It leads into what happens to veterans. And we've got a veteran who is robbing a liquor store, and then we have veterans who are then getting lost to addiction in this drug called Fade Away, which plays a major arc, and it's several huge turning points within this book as various people's addiction to and use of Fade Away. And Fade Away is best described as a deep psychedelic that you are kind of like existing alongside a reality.
Yeah.
Is what it really seems like. So you're here, but you're not. So, I mean, we've gone into a little bit of, we have alluded to potential illicit drug use in terms of psychedelics. Perhaps one could say we've heard anecdotally.
I may have referenced the concept, but without actually experiencing it. Who knows what those things might feel like, often experience, try.
So let me just go into a deep thing of something I've just read tangentially about. But hello, Spidey Cat. Oh, we've been blessed. The visit has begun.
Spidey Cat, welcome to the show.
But I really love the role that drugs play in this one, because it goes into the good and the bad. It shows people losing themselves to it, but it also literally shows someone having an OD trip so bad he almost dies, but having a massive transformative therapeutic experience
that he wouldn't have had otherwise. And that wouldn't have led to the second half of this volume.
Oh.
And I would argue the Fade Away is one of the reasons I describe this book as the most human book without featuring a single human. There's nothing more human than the interactions with Fade Away, be it Yuma, be it, Marco, be it, I can't wait to talk about her, but be it any of our leads or just the concept of it. Like, that's such a human element for a book that doesn't have any humans in it.
Yeah.
And I think that if you personally have never experienced drug culture, this book gives you a taste without any context. Like, you can actually experience some of those things.
I think this is drug culture.
What's happening right now it is drug culture. This is right now. My hair's so much longer than it looks.
This is so much longer. There we go. Okay.
That's art.
Yes.
See what happened to the hair there? That's I hope Fiona Staples is watching so I can draw me like one of your French girls. I'm prepared.
Do we have
so I don't know where Czar, what denomination Czar is, but Denton Jamie, in all caps, which makes me very excited, says, Koi Pond, Jenny, Koi, never caught a live before because I live in South Africa. Oh, that's what Czar is. Live in South Africa. It's 5 a.m., not sure how long I'll be awake, but I wanted to say I love your content and I love Saga. Enjoy your evening. Dude, I love South Africa.
I want to go.
Cape Town's one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh my God,
Cape Town's life-changing. I spent 5 weeks over in Cape Town. I went to Africa Burn. I went to Burning Man in Africa.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of South Africa. There's this area in Cape Town that is like this small marketplace where they had $3 Guinness meat pies, and it was $3 South African, which was only like $1.25 American. So I ate so much for very little. It was incredible. I lived like a king. I had a 20-year age Jameson and a steak and a side for what equated to like $6 American.
I love that we're talking about the absolute beauty, majesty, deep, intense, rich political history of South Africa. Is like, I got a $1 meat pie.
Yo, the $1 meat pie's dope. I've never lived that well. But also, Tabletop Mountain, there's this mountain that is completely flat up top, and mist crests over it and envelops the entire city. You can watch it like a sunrise. And in the middle of Africa, where Africa Burn is, it's so dark and so remote, you see the moonrise. So all the colors of the sun, like your oranges and yellows, that happens with blues and greens. And I can't even describe it. I don't know how it's never been put in film. I've never...
Full body chills.
Changed my life. I saw a moonrise 5 times. Like an actual... It was life-changing. South Africa is transcendent. I highly recommend everyone go and stay as long as you can. And it's a really welcoming place. I had these things called Vovicinos, which were chocolate coffee blended smoothies with like 8 shots of espresso.
I'm sorry.
We're back to food. Now she's in.
What?
She was like, don't talk about just food, and I'm back to Vovicinos.
Okay.
It tastes like the Jameson, but they were frozen, and the people made them by hand. It was a family recipe, so I got to meet the family that had been developing this recipe for years. I met the grandma to the daughter that was working there.
I love that.
It's so welcoming in a community, much like Saga. And the wealth disparity aspect to Saga tied beautifully into Cape Town, because I've never seen anything that was so aggressively poor, where there were people having to steal their internet in broad daylight. They'd be climbing up the poles and like taking electric and internet in the middle of the day.
Whoa.
And then right next to it was a gated fence where like, safe little white people were admiring the beach. Like, South Africa was staggering.
That's actually, in reading about South Africa, is the first time that I read the term dragon wire, which I realized is just that terrifying barbed wire that's everywhere with the razor blades on it.
Yeah.
But it's called dragon wire there. I was like, huh.
It's intense. I mean, Zelena Diant were like they came from, and that was also awesome to experience. The music scene there is not EDM based. it's like actual instruments, and like their art cars have people playing instruments driving around. The only music I heard that was pre-recorded was Diane Ford. So I got to experience like Diane Ford and live music Burning Man. It was like Burning Man in the 70s. It was thank you, and your country is amazing.
Damn.
Was that tangent.
Because, yeah, one day someone will fly us over there.
We'll do this show live anywhere in South Africa.
Take me.
Anywhere in South Africa you want to do this show. We are very down.
Just tested negative. I test negative once a week. It's great.
Yeah, by the way, we didn't give our usual preface. Jenny and I both tested negative yesterday. You saw on our Instagrams, perhaps, us both making sure we were good. So the 6 foot less distance is pre-planned for.
Yeah, we're also potting.
Yeah.
So.
True. People are asking if you can show the beer one more time since we're wrapping up that beer.
Yeah, this beer is strangely good.
Yeah, it's actually jarring.
Yeah. So making sure you can see this with the lights. Sorry, it's a little bright. Yeah, this is
a favorite.
Yeah. I am super into. I kind of go big or go home on beers, and I forget that there's light sippables for when it's hot out.
I also forget that I should try things outside of my wheelhouse because my brain just went like, this is my favorite non-Dragon's Milk. And I was like, oh, Dragon's Milk was like the extreme version of the beers you drink anyway.
We can't even
whereas this is like...
Because we had that incredible peanut butter...
Yes!
Was that a peanut butter IPA?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We got tricked by an IPA. It's really good.
So I think we're going to get tricked by another IPA tonight. Denton lives in Cape Town. Oh, that's amazing.
Well, I guess maybe we'll like... Denton, if you're not like a secret serial killer, maybe we'll like meet up one day and have a drink.
Denton, let's make it happen.
Cool.
And also, they say the opening of this opens with a birth, just like the other one does. The first volume. Yeah. The opening of this volume does open with a birth. Does the third not remember? That'd be amazing if they somehow had all 3 books open
on
with a
that
birth.
point, the point I didn't write down, because this was definitely like this was like a shower revelation today. What? Wait.
We're so meandering, but I have to. Dr. Nitrogen's Musical Empire. Aha! All caps. I am up for Halloween on Welsh shrooms, and so finally can catch you live. Happy Halloween, Coy and friend. Great Saga gear, you two. Hope all well.
Well, shrooms, you say. Ooh.
I bet these are interesting sights through your phone or device.
Amazing.
You're imagining I look like Saga.
So, the thing that... One of those, oh my god, shower thoughts. I didn't even think about it. Mm-hmm. The first one opens with a birth. It is literally the story of Hazel. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about my own art and how I haven't been able to make art lately and how I feel about the creation of it. And I was just having this like the birth of a story and the birth of Hazel. And like it was one of those beating you over the head symbolism things I didn't even catch. I wasn't even thinking about, because this story took over the lives of Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples to the point that they had to take a gigantic break.
Did you hear it sliding my hair, making the slap like noises?
Oh my god. It does not want to stay on your head.
Until beer 2. And they had to take this long hiatus, I think, because they were so enveloped in it. And it's not like, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan's written long sagas before, but this I feel like is such a personal story, and it's got so many characters, especially in this volume, that are so unique to comic books. Like, I don't think another book has done Petrichor justice. Like that kind of character. Like, we've had, bits of that, but this character is a fully fleshed out part of the world. And I think that's why they have to take a break every so often. I think it's why Fiona Staples... I think it's why it's hard to find, like, an original art and, all those things that some indie comics get away with, is this book is so personal to so many people. But the birth thing, I do think, ties into creation. And I do think that's an interesting allegory. Now I'm curious if 3 does.
Right?
But I can't look ahead.
Not, yeah, no, we're not.
I don't want to know.
Being good. Well, we also have to focus. It's been...
Oh, we're doing so well with that so far.
We are doing way better than last time.
We're 20 minutes in. We have covered Saga. Like, we talked about it at least. I feel like last time we did 3 hours.
Here's a thought, though. I just want to pose on air when we actually have some witnesses.
Yes.
So, someone very near and dear to me years ago had tried to get me into The Boys. And
I'm curious where the sentence goes. That's why that head tilt.
And so I had read the first volume and was like, oh, I really like this. But I got distracted, as I always do. And I didn't read, at the time they had 4 volumes. And so I read the first one, enjoyed it, kind of forgot about it, but then with how busy I am, when the show came out, and I have friends who made costumes for it, who worked on it, and I didn't get a chance to see it.
Is she getting tested? That'd be a fun guest.
Oh my god, right?
Right?
she's just not leaving the house because she's doing some hot ass OnlyFans, and I'm very proud.
You can plug Manzy's OnlyFans.
Manzy DeYoung.
She's doing good work.
Very proud of her. You can find her online as Manzinator with a 0.
Also, in addition to looking great naked, does great costume design so other people aren't naked.
Yeah, she's an incredible costumer.
Ironic.
Yeah, but then also my friend JC Faston, not OnlyFans, but a costume designer, and also Lindsay Hamilton. I know these incredible people who worked on the show.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it. I was also, last year was insanely busy for me. I didn't have time. I barely watched anything last year except for The Mandalorian. I only got to watch it because I was on a show where I had been flown out to Utah, and I had nothing to do but catch up on shows for the few hours of time I actually had to watch
The Boys.
Thing. So I'm finally watching The Boys, as I've now read volumes 1 through 4, and I'm 5 or 6 episodes into the first season of The Boys. And I'm reading it and watching it going,
that's awesome.
We need to do The Boys and just drink some Guinness and just talk about it.
Yeah.
And not just Guinness, we can do Guinness and vodka because I love sausage. I'm not sure if he's in the show.
But he's completely different, but it still works. We'll see. You know how they're changing characters to like...
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm also friends with Derek. I can see the artist, Derek Robertson.
Which is because I know they switch artists.
The main guy. Okay. The guy who does the first 40 issues.
Yeah, because that feels like Mad Magazine. It's rough, it's raw, it's kind of ugly in a way I really enjoy.
Derek might Skype in. We could have Derek and do drinking with Derek and
drinking with Derek?
Draw with Derek.
Oh!
Alright, we got schemes.
Yeah.
I love how every episode we talk about the next thing.
Yeah.
When we weren't talking about Saga, we were we're gonna talk about Saga. And now we're The Boys though, and Hellboy and Mescaline.
Oh, The
Boys.
Hellboys! Oh, someone has to have done that crossover.
If they haven't, they're fools. Also, how can we... What if we just have a big marathon day? We plan this as a 7-hour Twitch stream, and we watch a season of The Boys or a Hellboy, and just strap in.
I'm okay with that.
All right, guys, there might be a hard drinking week coming up. Ian Roth, cheers! Fancast Part 1. Journey Smollett from Birds of Prey as Alana. I love that choice. Zoe Saldana's mine, but I love Journey. She's incredible. Simu Liu as Marco. Also dig that. Simu is incredible.
Sorry, I'm only laughing because
Spidey Cat just wiped out a foot jump in the air. He is so bad at catting. And also, Simu is an absolute sweetheart. I got to meet him at Comic-Con this year, and he's going to be everywhere. Henry Cavill as Prince Robot IV.
Oh, 1,000%.
Very good call.
Yeah.
And Michelle Yeoh as Clara. Ooh, I hadn't even thought of her. I'll show you a picture.
Yeah.
But that is excellent fan casting. All around good sir.
Yeah.
Full support. Spidey's here to join the show.
Hi, Spidey. And every time I keep forgetting I have a lion cat statue.
Volume 3, we have to have a lion cat.
Yeah,
that's mandatory.
It's going to be very important. Get it, Spidey.
Internet's loading very slow because it's we're streaming or something.
Huh, weird. Wait, I can read it here. Hey gang, just got here. Something. Hey Wesley. So, apologize for...
She's a badass. She usually plays the one in command. And
Yeah,
she's a boss.
Okay.
She's an ex-Bond girl.
Oh, she'd be great as Clara.
Yeah, it's a great call.
Oh.
All around. Spidey always wants beer.
Who would be Bar?
Stanley Tucci's my bar. Ooh, or Cranston.
Cranston!
Dad energy. Tucci or Cranston bring the weird sexy dad energy.
I want Cranston just because.
His voice is so good. When he dies, we feel it. Because Cranston can make any scene sing. So can Tucci. But Tucci probably be a better heist.
Yes.
Tucci as this overly verbose author. I want that. He'd wear white pants. Have you seen that Harry Styles picture where he's in that girl's house? Harry Styles' car broke down in front of this superfan's house and she wasn't home, so her dad let him in to wait for his car to be picked up, and he fed her fish and left her a note saying your dad was so lovely, and there's a picture of Harry Styles feeding some girl's fish that's a fan, and I've thought about that for 3 days, and now I'm picturing Stanley Tucci doing that same outfit as Dr. Heist.
I need to see that, if only because I need to then see the girl's response of breaking down.
I don't think she has yet. I don't think she's responded. I've been following the Saga. So Saga.
Oh, that's right.
This is the meandering episode.
This happens to us every time, though. This is not new. If you're new to joining us, this is not new. This not being us in costume, but us meandering and talking about literally anything but the thing we're supposed to talk about.
I could do Wee Huey when we did The Boys. I feel pretty mean.
I could do Stargirl.
Easy. We just turned this into a weird cosplay drinking show. I don't know if that's an evolution or a devolvement, because we'd be so distracted the whole time.
No, but we'd have a gimmick.
Real funny.
Because you know what makes people popular? Gimmicks.
And that's what we're here for. That's what YouTube is. Get them likes up, like, subscribe, popularity. Oh, Ian, part 2. Keanu Reeves as Bar. I guess he's that age now. It just doesn't feel right.
That felt wrong.
It does. I see it completely.
But if we're doing Michelle, then yeah.
Right? Fuck, you're right. And they could like whoop ass. Because both of them can fight.
Yeah.
Chloe Grace Moretz as is Isabella.
Okay.
I like Chloe Grace Moretz, but I don't know if she has the right inherent snark. I like buy her as Hit Girl, but I don't know if I buy her as snarky. I see her as like hyper-violent language, but not necessarily the Aubrey Plaza is my Isabel. And Aubrey Plaza is a very different energy. But I do see it. And
weirdly, I mean, Aubrey Plaza is almost too obvious. She's almost too over the top at this point. Like, I would just kind of want... I'm catching myself in my own lie here because I don't watch enough media to actually know people.
Courtney Vance's Heist. I don't know who that is, but I will look. Isabella, Lupita Nyong'o as Gwendolyn. Fantastic. Yes. Oh, I want her in everything. I just watched Us for the first time. Oh. And Luke Evans as the Will. Matt Damon's the Will.
Matt Damon is the Will.
Especially when you get to this volume of Matt Damon.
That's on my list, actually. I sent quite kind of my talking points, but I still have my notes. I also wrote something down that's like, I literally wrote down, I said, I wrote my notes and then wrote beneath it, can't phrase it like that in 2020, but for reference.
Did you write yourself your own PC note? Did you warn yourself against
I PC checked myself.
Sometimes Jenny cancels herself because the internet's forever.
But I was just thinking about the turn that young Adama takes in Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, okay.
I don't know this name.
He gets a little heavy when life gets a little rough.
Yeah, you can say that.
And then Thor. I was thinking about heavier Thor.
I think it's great that people that are not obsessed with working out have like cosplays. I think it's great. Like I think it's like it's positive body reinforcement, not the other.
Well, the difference thing with Thor that I absolutely loved, the way we do tangents, is that it wasn't just that he gained some weight and he was just like, I mean, it is kind of the butt of the joke. It is the joke that he's gained some weight, but then he is still badass.
And he stays large when he transforms.
Exactly.
It's not like they were saying that you have to be skinny to fight.
It's like, no, he's still Thor, though. He's still worthy to wield the hammer.
And Volstagg is a large fella, and he's one of the most proud Asgardians. So, I personally think it's great.
So I do it, I love that, but like, it was just the dude. But, so, the Will, if you've read Volume 1, we didn't really go into what happens to the Will at the end of Volume 1. There's this whole thing with trying to kind of get him back to his former self. This is kind of the most non-spoiler way of talking about it. Yeah. Which backfires horrifically.
We can spoil Volume 1 now that we're in Volume 2. I think that's fair. Yeah. We should, because I rewatched some of our last one and we're like dancing around things. I'm like, how do we talk about it? Yeah. So I'd say...
So Volume 1... the Will is almost killed by Sophie, the little girl who he has saved from essentially being a sex slave, and he names her Sophie, which, as we find out, is the name of his sister, who is also she's also like a branded assassin, and so he's put into this coma, and then we jump forward a few years, and we see Sophie's grown up a little. Everyone's kind of grown up a little, and the Will is just like, we think we're not going to get him back. Mm-hmm. A lot happens. A lot is sacrificed. He comes back, and I mean, at that point, Hazel's narration just says, this is bad. This is bad. This is the worst thing to happen. This is an oops.
And Hazel's earnestness makes it so much more approachable, but like the horrors through her like adorable voice. And that's this volume too, because she's speaking now.
Yeah.
Like short little phrases, we get Hazel talking, so we're like, there's some levity in all the darkness, but there's also more casting. Mm-hmm. Ian follows up with, your cast is older than mine. That's fair. Thinking franchise, that's true. I'm thinking about like this generation, but long term. Natalie Dormer as Stalk. Always want Natalie Dormer in things. She is incredible.
I love her face.
I want her as Sue Storm so bad. It's still maybe an option, but like I think Natalie Dormer should be a franchise.
I can see that.
Like she's so smart, and I want someone that can speak with the poise, but also like be Mrs. Reed Richards. I want there to be a conflict.
Okay, but Natalie Dormer as Marjorie Terrell in Game of Thrones is extraordinary casting.
It's one of the few reasons I watched. Like she got me. And she's great in Casanova. Heath Ledger and Charlie Cox, fantastic show. It's the dude who played Daredevil and Heath Ledger. It's like such a good movie.
Oh,
it's real good. She's the lead. Lena Headey as Brand. You are a Game of Thrones fan as well, and I totally see that. Good call. And dude,
as Brand. Oh, yeah. Especially because she does she's done the whole short hair badass thing and numerous things. Yeah. Oh, and someone with black. Yes.
It just evolved.
I still see someone else, but she's definitely Dreamcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is my clearly Ian and I get along. Ian Sterling K. Brown as Dingo. Sterling K. Brown.
Dingo?
Oh yeah, I like Dingo ate your baby. Dingo. In this volume,
I know, but I've listened to a lot of true crime murder podcasts, and I've now read so much about the Dingo Ate My Baby story. I'm like, it's not what you guys think. Look into it. It's really intense.
Sterling K. Brown is Dingo. This Is Us.
I haven't seen
Black Panther.
I haven't seen This Is Us.
The dad in Black Panther, the OG that runs the group. I'll show you.
The dad in Black Panther? You mean the king who dies and then T'Challa becomes Black Panther? There's a dad. There's a few dads in Black Panther. There's
this guy. Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so Dingo brings us back to. So before I kind of talked about wars and outsourcing, there's this whole class warfare aspect and the whole cultures are screwed over. And man, Dingo is a transformative character who initiates. It's incredible how people's selfishness and how people's desire to enact change. This is actually a very Game of Thronesian thing. And look, everything comes back to Game of Thrones for me. Just as everything prior to this came back to Saga, now it's all just back to Game of Thrones. Just the actions that he takes changes the course of people's worlds and lives in an incredible degree.
He's now fighting the cat through the window because I closed the door because my cat is smart but frustrated.
And yet the way that it ends, for everything that he did, for how many lives he's ruined, with his genuine complaint that is, you know what he is? He's the whole, when one of the characters is really mad at anyway, one of the characters is really mad. I realized I can't pull up the names out of my ass right now. There's people and characters who are mad at Thanos for murdering whoever, and he's like, who?
I don't even know your name.
Yeah. Who does he say that to? It's Scarlet Witch? That's
yeah.
right. Yeah, I was going to say, the girl, when the Vision shit.
You'll know after the Disney Plus show. You'll remember.
That guy.
We've got one more from Ian. Oscar Isaac as Upshur. And Oscar Isaac was my Marco last time. I feel like Oscar Isaac needs a bigger part.
Yeah.
But I see it. But I had to up the Upshur.
Which one's Upshur again?
That's what I mean. Like, he's introduced in this volume. He's one of the ones that's after them, which doesn't help you at all. How do you describe
Upshur? What's he look like? What does he do?
He's... Actually, I don't remember.
We're doing great, guys.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Google.
The beer's kicked in. And one final one real quick. Comic Quirks with Jimmy, or Convert. Hear me out. Gender swap Prince Robot for a woman and make Viola Davis as Princess Robot. My dream cast, I want her in everything ever. I want British. So I guess if it was British Viola Davis... Because I hear that. Because Hugh Grant is my Prince Robot. Hugh Grant is...
Malchus Dove. Yeah. Yeah,
but I do hear your Viola Davis because she's got such a command, so if you're going to gender swap, I'm with you.
Nolan North is Goose.
Nolan North is Goose.
Guys, Goose? How do you pronounce that?
Goose. Lady Gaga's Lion Cat is amazing. Unknown for Hazel. Beer Fund, Shorts Brewery Soft Parade, if you can find it. We'll write that down.
Oh, yeah.
Shorts Brewery Soft Parade. Okay.
Oh, speaking of beers, I'm going to go grab our mystery IPA.
Oh, yes, let's go IPA now, because we're on such track. Now, we've talked about the basic, that's a word. The wealth inequality. We've talked about what war does at home and abroad, what it does to your mind state. And I feel like this is, I've had I started earlier. Also, Caitlin Dever is being discussed in length, and I think Caitlin Dever would be incredible as Hazel or someone else. Did you see Booksmart?
No.
Oh, she's
Let's talk about more things I haven't seen.
Let's talk about this beer you have seen.
Oh, so I specifically picked out this beer because the art is pretty.
She wine bottled our beer.
It is Anchorage Brewing Company Get Thicker Skin Double India Pale IPA. Look at this gorgeous art. This is like the Helsing comic. This is like some heavy metal art cover. This is beautiful. But it's also an IPA, which could, for Coy and I, be horrific.
Yeah.
So
we're about to find out which way this is going.
It could be we may just be about to drink some tree sap.
Yeah, because that stuff like stings the side of your tongue in a very specific way, and I'm not sure why IPAs get so popular, but we did have an IPA we loved.
We did.
So we might be slowly broadening our horizons, much like Saga does.
Yep.
For all people, because it broadens your horizons.
Saga's just a fucking global.
It does everything.
It's just introspective.
Well, yeah, because like there's no part of you that isn't touched on, like violence and domesticity and wealth. Like it covers all. Like I love a good Cape book, but Cape books are usually focused on one allegory at a time because they're doing all the action stuff. This is able to cover so many metaphors simultaneously, which is insane. We got more excitement. I had to reload because my thing got overwhelmed. Comic Quirks with Jimmy follows up with Buy the Hellboy beer, and it's all based on a story in his life. Also read Mark Russell's Flintstones. There's a Hellboy beer?
There's Mark Russell's Flintstones?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna start taking notes.
Okay, so I want to just hold this up first. First, I'm gonna give you this.
Thank you.
If you wanna take your notes, but
that is hoppy.
But look at this color. Whoa, that
boy's
hoppy.
hoppy. Okay.
I'm already like upset about it.
If you guys didn't hear that at home, that was a surround sound. I'm gonna jot a note. Okay. It has like no flavor after a moment.
No, it doesn't.
It has a flavor and then it completely does. This is the shortest term beer I think I've ever drank. There's no aftertaste.
This literally is like licking a tree and then it's like it just disappears. It's like a tree jizz in your mouth and then just left.
Yeah, I feel taken advantage of.
It doesn't even stay. It doesn't even say thanks. It just leaves.
Just as you were. It's the glory hole of beers.
Cheers. But the art's really
both
pretty.
of our moms are in the chat.
My mom's very proud of me right now.
Hi, moms.
Hi, moms.
It's not bad.
It's just not
a flavor for long.
Look, if you like IPAs,
this is delicious.
Because you hate yourself and have maybe, you know what? I just understood something.
Oh.
Hipsters love IPAs. Hipsters.
It's a self-flagellation.
Wait for it. Hipsters smoke more than any other generation. Hipsters have no taste buds. That's why they drink IPAs. Because they just want to feel something.
It's the hot topic of beers. They just want to feel something. Ice Drop Hot Topic.
I was gonna
Saga merge Hot Topic.
Yeah.
This isn't from there. It's from Skybound. But Danny Bell says Hellboy beer tastes.
Hi.
Do you know Danny?
Yeah, Danny is. Hey, I'm gonna plug Danny real quick. Danny is an incredible author who has a really awesome fantasy series, and you should go look up Danny's work because Danny's awesome.
Danny Bell?
Danny Bell!
Hellboy beer tastes like maple syrup, and you can buy it at one random spot in Torrance.
Done.
All right, so field trip. Torrance and Hellboy beer.
Also, Torrance means the King's Hawaiian Bakery restaurant, and it also means all the Japanese food stores I like.
I've never been down there.
All right, there's also the biggest Joann's I've ever been in.
Ooh.
Which can be good depending on the season.
You know, that'll must do. The biggest Joann's ever.
Look. Hey, you want to put your horns on again? See how long it lasts?
Let's do it. So our moms are waving, by the way.
Of course they are.
This checks out. Science Facts by Jenny. There's been a lot of plugging tonight. That's true. That's true. We've plugged friends. We've plugged family.
Yep. There's been a lot of plugging tonight.
People are very upset we're dissing IPAs. Hey, there wasn't any dissing of IPAs going down, than was there? And then San Diegans love IPAs, you haters. I'm sorry to the fine IPA drinkers. We should have a disclaimer on the bottom of the show.
You know what? We'll put it this way. As we have found, the IPAs we like are IPAs that don't taste like IPAs, which I don't know why they would call it an IPA if it doesn't taste like one. So if you guys... Wait, hold there. if you all who love my penis.
My hair is literally like a foot long. It's just always tucked.
There we go. Yeah, hell yeah. All right. So for you who love IPAs so damn much, what we both dislike about them is when it's just over the top tree sap. It's so hoppy you get no other nuances. The IPA that we loved in the first show
had a journey.
Yeah, it was almost like a peanut butter stout, but an IPA. It was gorgeous.
And it tasted like both a stout and IPA, so it had all the different palates on the journey instead of just being like, Kuta!
So yeah, we hate IPAs. So you know what? Fix it.
Yeah, take us on an IPA journey that is akin to our taste.
You don't like what you see? You have the power. If you give us money or give us recommendations.
That's worse than plugging.
I'm not even kidding.
So much worse.
Hey, you want us to like
learn?
Then you do it for us because we're busy.
Mom, I'm not insulting Joanne's. My mom's like, your brother works at Joanne's. I was like, I've got nothing against Joanne's. Just saying it's not necessarily a landmark.
That Joanne's is actually a very good Joanne's if you actually give a shit about craft stores. Just say.
So what's your next note, Saga?
God, yeah, I definitely. Well, one, I really love the puns in Saga.
Yes.
I love that there's a place that they reference again called the Uncanny Valley.
Yes. Brilliant.
And they bring it up again this time. I like that there is. It's a little bit. No, we've kind of gone to spoilers a little bit, but so in terms of the drug use, there's that drug called heroin, but it's spelled like heroin, like the female heroin,
heroin, yeah.
And what it causes you to do, at least it does for the will.
Is it spelled different? Is it heroin?
Heroin doesn't have an E at the end.
I think it does.
Google.
Heroin.
I thought it was just Heroyn.
I think they're the same, because I always thought it was an interesting play on like the English language failing.
But I thought that, look, we're about to find out, because clearly I know a lot about hard drugs. Now just do heroin like that.
Heroin.
Aha,
Oh, you're right!
Oh, say it again.
Jenny Newman is right about heroin.
We have this on video.
It's on record that you knew about the heroin. There is no E.
Wait, no, I don't like that we.
Yeah,
I know
I
about heroin.
Yeah,
wait,
correct.
shit! You turn that around! No!
If you'd like to ask Jenny questions about heroin, she's clearly the expert.
I am your go-to source.
Actually, let's talk about Fade Away. Was that where we were going with heroin?
Well, no, I'm gonna. Let's move into Fade Away next. We're gonna talk about. Heroin was more like the play on words and the punning.
Yeah.
That I just really enjoyed. Because what it does is it causes you to see a woman who has been the most influential, or several who have been like the big influential women in your life, and basically he's having these full-on conversations. It's almost schizophrenic.
Yeah.
He's such a tragic figure now I think about the Will, because he's a bad guy who does good things and then just does lots of bad things. And it's such bad things.
He always has such a heart. Even when he's doing the bad things, you see the brokenness in him doing the bad action, and then he always redeems himself. At no point you can't hate the Will.
Yeah. Oh, that's also a thing. So he gets very chunky, which is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they explain away the addiction.
I think it's self-loathing. I think it's like,
But he also like literally breaks the jaw of a creature that's about to eat him. He's still an insane badass.
Yeah, but it's like Thor. He just like he solves, he's hiding his feelings by like consuming. I felt that was my headcanon, which is why for me, Matt Damon.
So but again, you're entirely right. It has to be Matt Damon. It has no one but Matt Damon.
Like Fat Damon in The Informant is Matt Damon, the Will in Volume 2, and it's inspiring.
So and then the only other pun I wrote down for this one is a hive mind instead of mind. It's a minefield, but they're called hive minds. And when you hit them, it is a swarm of tardigrades, like bear-sized tardigrades, break into the ship. I love the punning on this stupid comic book. So, Fade Away. Let's actually talk about psychedelic drugs and the role that they play, because they treat Fade Away exists as a psychedelic. At least in ways that we could understand it. Yeah. But it is addictive almost in terms of...
Like a hard drug.
Yeah, it's almost like meth in the way that it's kind of...
It consumes.
Yeah.
For our viewers at home, if you are under the age of... Well, it's illegal, so it shouldn't matter. But if you're a kid, and this isn't a validation of drugs or encouragement of drugs, but it is a commentary on drugs, usually hallucinogens are not addictive. Generally speaking, you will not be addicted to the chemical compounds of mushrooms or the chemical compounds of acid. You can grow addicted if it's cut with something. You can also grow addicted to the experience of it. But from a purely chemical sense, the mushrooms themselves leave your system. You can enjoy the experience and want to do that more, but it's not like heroin or cocaine where it's chemically addicting and causing you to strive for it. So all those disclaimers aside, for my money, I shouldn't use that expression here, for the sake of conversation, mushrooms and acid are much safer than hard drugs, but what they did with Fade Away is they combine all of the boogeyman concepts of drugs, all of the DARE campaigns. This is McGruff's DARE pitch about this Fade Away, but it's really important to have that experience through the story because there are pros and cons to every drug, even booze, which is clearly something we agree with. So this will have ramifications, just like mushrooms or acid will. So all of that notwithstanding, that is your asterisk for drug culture and drug conversation. It's very important to have. Drugs should not be something you don't talk about. Drugs should just be like much like sex, you shouldn't avoid the conversation because babies still happen. Abstinence isn't working. Avoiding drug cultures, just keeping people in prisons. Our institutional problems with drugs and pregnancy are fucked, and we need to solve them and not ignore them. Carrying on. I'm very hypey around the election. So angry at this country.
Yeah, but it is, look, and for my mom, who I don't know if she's still on or if she's gone back to watching BTS videos, I love you, is the demystification of alcohol. I grew up in Northern California. I grew up near wine country. Which, I know, maybe it would have happened if I grew up anywhere else, but my parents exposed me to alcohol early on and were like, oh, we're having this steak or this dish, and here is the red wine that my parents were having, that they let me have a sip of it when I was young. So what it meant was that by the time that I was in high school, I was a giant nerd and deeply unpopular anyway. I don't think it would have been an issue, but I wasn't a drinker because drinking wasn't a mystical thing that, oh no, you've got to be bad if you're going to do it. It meant that I was such a snob that when it came time for underage drinking, I was at boarding school, and for the last 2 years of high school, which was a ski school, and it was incredible. You think boarding school's for bad, but it was real good. It was amazing. And people busted out with some bottles of like what would be the equivalent of $2 chuck. It was just like a $5 bottle of wine, and someone opened it and poured it, and I went, this isn't wine, this is terrible. And people were like, the hell is wrong with you? And I was like, I'm not gonna drink that. So,
and that's also, I should see, drugs.
Yeah, so this is the thing. My parents demystified alcohol for me so that I didn't have a problem with drinking in high school because I was a snob about it. I'm like, well, why would you just drink to get drunk? Because that tastes terrible. Because I knew what it could be.
Yeah, and that's why we need to demystify sex, drugs. A lot of our biggest foundational problems, money. You don't learn about money in school. You learn about fucking calculus, which you never use again. You learn about like how to fucking. The things you learn in school don't apply to a lot of things past a certain point, whereas the things that are in Saga, they're much more approachable, much more day-to-day. And I feel like the conversation about Fade Away, he gets something out of his OD. Yeah. And that's hugely important. You can have the worst trip in the world, and as long as it's on a safe drug, you can have a very positive life experience because of it.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that it's the difference in usage. So Yuma, who is an extraordinary character, she's a living plant. She's an artist. She is art. Mm-hmm. And she's Heist's ex-girlfriend or ex-wife or something that she's like, the fact that they had a relationship.
I love it so much. Because of course he's like the author and she's the muse.
Oh god, and they had like some weird, tumultuous, crazy relationship. But she's the one who's supplying the Fade Away to the people who are in the circuit. We haven't even gotten to the circuit. So the circuit is, it's alluded to at the very end of the Big Omnibus Volume 1. And what it is it's kind of like an interactive bad soap opera with superheroes, where these people are in superhero outfits, but they're talking about like office drama.
Yeah.
But the way that it is that people are watching it with a headset, so that you're kind of in an audience and you're yelling at the actors who are also then seeing the people in the audience and kind of interacting with them. It's a weird, high concept version of interactive soap opera.
Ready Player One meets Luchadors.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
I think it's probably coming. Within 20, 30 years.
I will sign up for that.
It's coming.
Are you kidding?
Far too quickly.
Man, I miss Luchador shows.
I miss the world.
Guys, I love indie wrestling.
Ready Player One's gotten such a leap because of quarantine. Like, that's so much sooner to happening. Think about how much we've just, like, gone in.
Read the book. So much pandering. It was obnoxious.
Do you like geeky things? Well, here you go.
Hey, do you like this reference of a reference of a reference? Here, let me give you a reference of a reference. It's a reference to a reference.
Hey, there's gonna be these Easter eggs in case you were wondering.
Fuck, I hated it.
Not to diss Ready Player One, but it goes a bit far.
But I also haven't seen the movie, but I also worked with Ty Sheridan on a movie last year, and he was an amazing sweetheart.
Angel boy. Real sweetheart. Big fan of that guy.
Total sweetheart.
Like, impressively kind.
Just, I mean, have you worked with him or just heard?
I know him through James and
oh my
Alex
God, he's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Guys, Ty Sheridan is one of the nicest people I've ever met, and I worked with him for 2 months on a movie, and we like traveled together. He's so nice. Also, the movie that we shot was on Quibi, and I say was because Quibi was a terrible idea and is dying terribly. But it's a movie called Wireless. It's a movie but split into episods.
Oh, and before it's canceled.
Go check it out before it's off the air in December. Because that thing ate 2 months of my life, and I spent so many days in Los Angeles on a film set cooled to 30 degrees. So my suffering, please go enjoy.
Check out Quibi plug. Before we dive into the fadeaway effect on the cast, Dr. Nitrogen's musical empire says shrooms contain chemicals that enhance cognitive functioning.
Yeah.
Paul Stamets is a great guide to fungi generally if people need a great guide. Check out Paul Stamets. I agree.
I know actually who's Paul Stamets.
I've actually heard of some of his works. I've read him in like the broad strokes. There's also a very approachable, like Beyond Approachable documentary on Netflix called Have a Nice Trip, and it's the most surface. Yeah, it's like super, but it's the opposite of Dare. It's the same like hijinks.
So the funny thing is, I went because I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it because I'm Jenny
Jenny
Newman.
doesn't watch
I don't
things.
watch.
She just knows about them. So check out Have a Nice Trip if you're afraid of drug culture. If you were raised in a puritanical family unit, there are things you can learn and breach out. And I think everyone should try mushrooms once in their life in a controlled, safe environment.
Oh, highly recommend.
If you're bold. Acid, even more controlled safe.
But I would say if you're doing mushrooms, go outside, because the experience.
You gotta be safe.
The experience of indoors. But I went outside. I mean the outdoors. I mean nature. I mean grass. I mean even if you have a backyard, if you have a patio, just indoor experience is like
different experience.
And then you get outdoors and you literally see the threads connecting every living thing.
I've heard it described as by someone named Coy-Jandreau. It's kind of like taking off glasses you've been wearing your whole life. Like, it's taking off polarized lenses and seeing the world in a completely different way, theoretically.
Yeah.
And then acid, you control space-time if you do enough. But don't do too much! That said, Fadeaway has this really great addictive quality that should be a complete negative, but I like the way they handle his realization shifting. Because for me, that's what hallucinogens do. They just make you go, like, you've lived like this. What if you look this way? And then sometimes looking this way is how you solve life's problems. And that's what happens to Marco.
They do such an interesting thing, though, because they give us fadeaway. Fadeaway is an escape, because fadeaway just kind of like, you kind of fuzz out and you access a deeper part of your brain that psychedelics typically do, which gives you a bit more creative artistry and allows you to be a bit more free in your expression. But you're also just kind of, you're almost phase shifting, where you're just, you are existing alongside the plane. So it's that weird interacting with the world around you in a very different plane, but in the very sort of faded out sort of high experience, which I can't relate to, because the way that it describes it, like, I think it's a drug that I haven't experienced because the way they describe it.
And how cool is that, right? Like, for drug culture to have Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples paint you a drug that feels familiar but not known.
But also, like, I know some friends who've done literally everything. I'm sure if I asked them, they could give me a better
parallel.
Yeah. But
But the approachability, like, it is something you're like, this seems like close.
But the thing is, up until Marco's near-death overdose experience, it is just presented as a negative, which is important. Like, we are given, because it's the use of it as an escape, the use of it as a detraction from your life rather than enhancement to your life. And the fact that Marco nearly dies on it, it's his first time ever doing it. They get a bad batch, and he has an incredible transforming experience and never does it again. Versus Alana's experience with it, and also Yuma's experience with it. Oh, Yuma's, all right, so.
So about Yuma.
Oh, Yuma, but her last panel, so good.
It's a shirt, and I've thought about getting it a number of times.
It's a shirt?
It's a shirt.
I want it.
It's a shirt.
Guys, I'm a size small.
Kirkman, I think it's for sale. Kirkman wears it all the time.
Like, I need it. I need it.
Like, Skybound, like, people have it, so I assume it's good. Yeah, it's real good. Also, Wesley says, Jenny, if Coy brings up a reference you don't know, we can talk Kenshin, and I don't know that reference.
It's okay, Wesley. I think, are you one of the ones who texted me? Not texted, sorry, incorrect.
Jenny just throwing out her number on the internet. Bold choice.
Hey, the funny thing is, even if you did, I would never text back, because I don't even do that to my good friends.
That's true.
I I have 160 on my text message right now.
Haunting. That would give me I'd be having a bad fadeaway trip if I had more than 5 texts.
The problem is if I respond to people, then they respond back, and it never goes down.
I have 172 Instagram messages, and I just stopped. 172, and I was like, no.
The funny thing is they just go away at one point.
Do they?
Well, they do if they're in your other folder.
I'm just the worst. So if you're on Instagram, I'm sorry. But we're bad at communicating is what we're saying. That's why we hang out in person.
Tweeted at. I had a few people tweet at me last. I had a lot going on the last few weeks. If you follow me on Twitter, you know why. So, it's fine. I promise I'll get back to you, but thank you so much for the Kenshin reference. People who actually got what I was yammering about last week.
You said tweeted, yes, that was me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm actually going to respond to you because I've been thinking about, oh shit, I have to get back to this person who actually sat through us talking for 3 hours.
I mean, we're approaching an hour and a half.
We're doing fine.
We're only on beer 2. That said, I like this being a long-form show, and you guys seem to support it. The last episode we did was our most viewed of comic books and craft beer,
really?
and it was 3 hours long. So
joke's on you.
Kind of a bad influence. This is your fault.
We're literally talking about doing drugs, and we're talking about being a bad influence, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's an Ouroboros of bad influence.
But again, so we are talking about the positive effects of psychedelics.
Yeah,
but the
very important.
book really shows that drugs are bad, okay, but they can be fine if you don't die from them.
And I think drug culture and comic book culture and movie culture needs to get through this whole puritanical old thinking. And I keep using the word puritanical because I have so many problems foundationally with what this country was founded on. I'm so worried that I'm living in the wrong country. Because what if Trump voters are the ones that are trying to make America great again? What if I've been wrong about what America represents? Because at the end of the day, I thought it was about freedom. I thought it was about truth. I thought it was about everyone being able to live equally. But if you actually read the fucking legal, it's so religious fueled. It's completely closed-minded in the original text. There's some open interpretations to things, but half the fucking founding fathers had slaves. Like, we were founded fucked, and we've gotten better. But there's so many people that want to be originalists, like some fucking Supreme Court justice. But my point being, I think the arts are the first thing that gets shut down when you cut the budget from the other side. And the arts are the thing that need to kick back. My biggest problem with the left, my biggest problem with the Democratic Party is that they don't have enough teeth. If one side has teeth and the other side cowers, your side's gonna lose. So if we are gonna be a side that represents art, we're gonna represent equality, we're gonna represent forward thinking, we need to break down the barriers of things like drugs and sex and make this country at least even keeled in our veracity. Be more advantageous in your speech. Be more open about the things you enjoy, because the other side's gonna fucking take every inch they can. So I love that Saga doesn't shy away from a transgender character, doesn't shy away from drugs. It says the pro and the con. It doesn't shy away from open relationships. It leans into porn.
Interracial relationships.
It's the whole book.
Yeah.
Interspecies relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I think that if we're gonna have a fucking civil war that's coming, we need to have both sides fucking rally.
Yeah. Well,
which also is in the book.
On this point, is kind of touching honestly on cancel culture. Cancel culture. Let's look. I've had 2 beers.
Jenny just had like a game sheet come out of her mouth.
Fuck you. Is what you just said is so important, because it's the what this country was founded on was deeply flawed, but it was also the thinking of the time of over 200 years ago. So, but we've had a chance to learn and grow and change. And it's when someone says, "Oh, that politician voted against something we care about 20 years ago," and the politician changed their mind. It's like, because that person has new information.
Human growth?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is people are allowed to make mistakes and grow from them.
The fucking bills, by the time you get to the actual bill, there's so many addendums and shit. So by the time you sign something, it's like, I said I wanted trees to be grown, but I didn't say you had to kill every beaver on the planet to cut the tree. Like, it's that shit that people don't realize. And it's
no, same. So that's actually a thing. You know what? I'm going to take this opportunity.
Please.
I have said this every time there's an election cycle. If anyone watching this has known me for the last 16 years, I always say this. It's read past the headlines, do your own research. If something gets you upset, Google it, Bing it, look at and I say that because look at different search engines, different outcomes. Go past your own confirmation bias.
Ask Jeeves.
Right? Oh my God, does that still exist?
I don't know, but you can ask him.
So. But here's the thing: if something gets you riled up and gives weight to your confirmation bias, that for me, if I read something and go, yeah, that's exactly it, I go, I'm gonna look more into this.
Did you watch well, you probably haven't. Have you seen The Social Dilemma by chance?
No.
So The Social Dilemma is full of facts you already know, or might not, but a lot of people do, but they're presented in really entertaining ways, so you have mental images instead of just thoughts. So I found it really interesting because it gave me a story that I can play in my head versus just like an idea. And it really helped the narrative. I'm so visual that it helped me go from like, that's an idea to like, that's a story I've seen. And it really helped me because we are very horse blinders, especially with politics. And I try, I just finished Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules of Life, and he's a hardcore like right-wing icon. Like the right loves Jordan Peterson. I want to understand both sides, so I'm reading the text.
Oh, that's so hard.
It's so hard. And that book had so many great points, and there were so many misogynistic points like laced into it. So I kept being like, I love that idea. Oh, he hates women. So it was really hard to like be like, I agree with some things. This horrible idea. So it almost makes you feel worse. But if you go in only reading people that agree with you, you'll never have a full perspective of the world.
Hey,
Saga.
We did it.
Every time I look up and I have horns on, I'm having this like very impassioned conversation.
Paige.
Also, your mom is darling.
What'd she say?
Your mom said, I never trust anyone that hasn't done drugs.
Mom, I love you so much.
I'm gonna find the actual quote, it's really good. And then we'll get, I have found that I don't ultimately trust anyone who hasn't done drugs, but that's just me.
Guys, I love my mom so much.
She's real good.
I love her so much.
Before we get to that note, Ian, what's Kenshin? List/fun, Dragon's Milk varieties. Short brewery stuff, odd side ales, bean flicker, and hazel's nuts. Avoid IPAs, that's like drinking grass clippings. Also, Dare and War on Drugs was so dumb. Ian is one of our every week viewers, and Ian gets more wise every week.
Okay, Ian, Kenshin is... How can you say what's Kenshin? Didn't you watch last week when I was talking about Rurouni Kenshin, which is...
last week.
It's an anime, it was a manga, Japanese, it's set in the Meiji era, which is the late 1800s. It's kind of the trend. It's about a guy who used to be a samurai assassin, and then he becomes a pacifist, but then he has to fight, and is really sweet boy, and there's lots of really cool people around him. That is the most horrifically simplistic version of it, but the way that the story is told,
very entertaining.
He's like an anti-hero, and he's just so sweet, and I loved that show so much when I was younger. Anyway.
And Wesley says, and Wesley is your pension buddy, my only experience with drugs is smoking weed. I've never felt comfortable enough with other drugs to do anything past weed.
And the hilarious thing is that in middle school and high school, everyone's like, weed is a gateway drug, weed is the devil's weed, weed is what gets you into the hard shit. And it's like, no, weed makes you fall asleep.
Yeah, weed makes you do less things.
Literally
less and less.
It makes you eat more.
Yeah, I actually can't smoke weed. And theoretically, if I was someone who enjoyed mushrooms or things, I spin out on weed more than I do conceptually other things, because my brain gets into a cycle, and I think I'm being studied by the government, and then it expands out to aliens, and then it expands out to my parents, and then I think my parents are aliens, then I think my parents work for the government, and it's this cycle that every single time I literally feel like I'm being watched, and it haunts me, and I feel like I'm in it for like at least 6 to 9 hours, even if it's 5 minutes.
So, if I smoke too much, I can't talk, and I don't know how people watch things because I just can't process. I just get real slow. And there was a party I went to years ago not 2 years ago, years and years and years ago at New York Comic Con. We went off with Seth Green and a few other people. I'm implicating you. Sorry. Where we went off to Macaulay Culkin's loft and smoked some weed.
Dude, his mannequins fucked me up.
We went up to his loft in New York. It was New York Comic Con like 2013? Jesus, like 2013 or 2014 or 2015, I don't know anymore. And someone had some sativa, which I guess is the upper one. And I was like, weed makes me fall asleep. I'll try the upper one. I went, yeah, I'm awake. This is great. I passed out hard because I forgot there was a come down. So there's a picture of me passed out in a back room with his cat on me, and it's not a pretty pass out. I'm like my head's back. It's bad. And I actually thank you. Oh, I need to do that. Just found it. It is hilarious, and I was just reminded of like, yeah, no, weed just makes me like get really dumb and sleepy. So
sounds nice.
I drink instead.
That sounds so nice though. The freedom of just like feeling dumb. Like
I love but I can't do it around other people because then I want to interact.
That's fair. My mom says, "Oh no, Coy figured it out. We are aliens." And then she said, "I mean witches. I mean no, we're normal. That's normal." And then also the chat is saying that my anxiety just gave them anxiety.
So, I'm amazed you get that.
So bad. Like.
Yeah, but do you remember the Mushrooms Day where we thought that the people were like awful troll people?
Do you mean conceptually?
Yeah, the one that we talked about.
Will Smiths. Will Smiths. This little horse. And then the bike.
Oh God, Will Smiths.
Oh, Will Smiths is the hero we all need right now.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love him so much.
I miss him.
Ian says you guys aren't cops, right? Oh man, this is one of my favorite episodes yet.
This is why we're never gonna get any official sponsors.
No, we literally just were like, I'm like overthrow the government. We were founded by prudes and liberals. I also tagged all these beer companies in the tweet, and I was like, just unsolicited for doing the show. They're gonna look at this and be like, fuck these people.
Whoops.
Please don't drink our beer.
Right, I was gonna say a quote. Saga, page 377. Anyone who thinks one book has all the answers hasn't read enough books.
Oh, that perfectly ties into what you were just saying. Actually, that is very fitting.
Next beer.
Nicely done. Now we're up to our third beer. Spidey is done fighting imaginary or actual physical cats outdoors. He's sitting next to me. He's cleaning himself. Everyone's happy. Jenny's getting another beer. It is not an IPA, so we won't have a rough descriptor.
However, I'm gonna wash our glasses because.
Oh, because we don't want to go from hops to stouts.
Ugh.
No, we're not those people. While Jenny does this, I'm gonna read through the chat a bit. Danny Bell's back. If you want to read a leftist philosopher from Slovenia, Slavik Zizek is the antithesis of the likes of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. Also, thanks for the random shout out earlier, Jim. Of course, I do not know Slavik Zizek. I am taking that down. I'm literally taking notes from the show, so thank you very much. I will absolutely check that out. Yeah, leftist thinkers are a lot easier to find because they are thinkers. Sorry, that was completely contrary to what I said.
I'm just gonna say, what a douchey thing to say.
I immediately realized and apologized, but I find it easier to find a lot more books from left-thinking people. So thank you for the right-leaning book. I mean, for another left-leaning book that is from outside the country that I can look deeper into. It is appreciated. I'm taking down that note right now. Also, yeah, having notes has been great. We actually wrote down all of the beers you guys have recommended. This note is full of just chaos. Shorts Brewery, Soft Parade, Dragon's Milk, Odd Side Ales, Bean Flicker, and Hazel's Nuts. Like, all sorts of good stuff is in this note, so you guys are killing it. Very, very much appreciated.
Bean Flicker had better be a coffee stout.
That, or it's a very poorly 90s lesbian reference.
It doesn't have to be 90s.
I feel like we're not allowed to make those jokes anymore, post-bound. I feel like the Wachowski's bound.
Oh, no. The thing is, I came out earlier, so I'm allowed to.
Oh, okay. So you can say Bean Flicker.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah. Bisexual, but still. Oh, wait.
Bottle opener? It's, I don't want to move Spidey.
Yeah,
it's right on the top of the bar on the left.
Yeah.
Dr. Nitrogen Musical Empire, always so grateful for your recommendations of Saga. Ian writes, and thank you, Dr. Nitrogen, for checking out Saga. We've talked about it on other shows. I love that you loved it. And Ian, he just writes in all caps, Science Facts by Coy. Well,
he said Science Facts by Jenny earlier, so what are our science facts?
That the left tends to write more books, and that...
No, I said the right writes more books, because they do... Look, depending on which airport you fly into.
Oh, that's true.
Because I took some pictures when I flew into Houston a few years ago on my way down to Belize. There's some shit. But I feel like there's a lot of the political books are entirely reactionary, and I tend to not read them because they are pure confirmation bias. I like stuff that is more analytical and is more, honestly, I prefer a dry interpretation because so much political stuff is intended to either incite fear or incite ire, so it plays to emotional response, which is what plays to the irrationality
and you can get that on social media.
Plagues our country. So it's like Ann Coulter. I don't even know she believes what she says, but she's just a bitch.
Well, the problem is we are so click-based. Yeah. So it's way more profitable to say something stupid than say something smart.
And that's the thing is I don't subscribe to that shit. I don't read people who they make their money and their ideology off of scaring people. Anytime that I have a friend who says, I am scared, I go, what have you been reading?
Mm.
So, am I concerned about my healthcare? Certainly. Am I scared? No, because I think fear is something that is instilled in you by people who are playing against your fears, and that's unfair. That's manipulation. I have been through an abusive, manipulative relationship. I know the signs. So that thing from 10 years ago, awful experience, but taught me so much.
And that loosely brings us to our next point with the new character introduced, the babysitter. We'll get to in just a moment about tricky relationships in Saga. But I do think that.
Oh right, we should talk about this before I open it. Sorry.
Well, we haven't had it yet.
I know. Wait. I love it when you open a beer and you saw that little like swirl of like yeah. Okay, so third beer.
Mm.
Although actually, let's say what we're about to launch into a Saga.
I think the relationship with the babysitter and Hazel and the weird once Marco feels like he's losing Alana to Fade Away and doesn't realize she's doing Fade Away, that discrepancy in the relationship, because I consider relationships 3 parties. Like there's the one person and the relationship itself. That's like its own human. Yeah. So once he loses the human to drugs, that's the middle part of them. He finds this other girl, and he doesn't mean to flirt, but it happens, and that I think we should focus on that.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is another beer that was recommended to me by the owner of Vendome Liquors. It is Founders, the amazing Kosnicki's, highly acclaimed, okay, I mean it probably is, KBS, a flavored stout. Is good for everything a flavored stout ought to be good for. Ale brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in oak bourbon barrels, which by the way that's our one note. It's, you know what, I love that as one note beer drinkers, it's at least complex.
It is a complex note.
Yeah. We're not, I like a lager. Lagers are disgusting.
Lagers are okay.
They're nothing.
They're like fine. There are complex lagers, but you have to like pay for them.
Well, fine. Let's find a complex lager.
I would argue that some of the like small rollout Sam Adams are like good.
I haven't had small ones.
Yeah.
The thing is, I love being proven wrong when it means I get to have something delicious or someone like destroys an expectation I have.
Which is why we're looking for the perfect IPA.
Yeah. So again, help us with this. So let me show you this. KBS. So this is another bourbon barrel aged. We are like, our third beers are historically the ones that kind of follow our palates. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited to try this one because the owner was super stoked to have me try it. Oh yeah, I love a beer I can't see through. Yeah.
Can we admit to just stouts for the boys? Like, can we
just stouts? Is there a way to get a proper Guinness?
Domestically? We could buy the extra stout and pretend, but like that's only 7/8 there.
Well, because I've never had a true Guinness.
You won't until you go on a plane. The water's wrong. I'm just saying, the pour's wrong, the water's wrong. We can, you know what we can do? We can Irish pour an extra stout, and that's the closest I think you can get with our water system. Okay. Like we can take our time. Okay. But I think we should like not try anything that is out of our wheelhouse for the boys. I think it'd be fun to do a stout boys.
Oh, it has to be.
Call it the stout boys.
Yes. We'll do a stout boys, but we also have to have the the vodka that's essentially like rocket fuel.
We could also do for Hellboy. We could just do IPAs because we'll be in hell. We could just suffer through all the beers that we don't personally enjoy. It's just us like cantankerous. Why are we here?
Is that what reading it's like?
No, it's a delightful read. But like he's a demon.
So here's this. I'm gonna hold this up. Look at how dark and beautiful this is. Look at this.
Wow.
Oh my god!
It smells like a library in a good way. Like it smells.
No, but it doesn't smell like a library. It smells like an old coffee shop library.
Yeah, it smells like the book section in a coffee shop, but old.
Or it's a bookstore that has a coffee shop, and this is the espresso bar next to the antiquity section.
But not Starbucks and not Barnes & Noble, like we're talking. No, but I'm clarifying, because that's common now.
Yeah. No, but like I think like the last bookstore. I think about an old bookstore, but I want like East Coast old bookstore that's been there for like 150 years. Mm-hmm. And they opened an espresso bar like 20 years ago, and this is just like the smell of the espresso beans that have kind of filtered into that old book
smell. Nobody bought these books.
Oh, I love that old book smell, but like, yeah, this is like coffee beans ground into it.
It's weird to like huff books, but I totally do.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, that's interesting because it's surprisingly
super fast
light.
too. It's not as quick as that IPA, but like it's very.
It's surprisingly so. The nose on this is super heavy and intense, and this is the old book. This is the deep coffee. Leather, this is almost like a rich cherry. Actually, this is a one that it hits you fast with flavor, disappears. Wait for it.
And then there's what
I'm getting is a rich, deep cherry concentrate.
Yeah, it's almost cherry. It's not quite cherry, but it's almost.
But it's that cherry coffee bean. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm not talking the sickly sweet plastic cherries. I mean like a deep. Have you ever had like cherry concentrate? Is like a deep cherry.
And not maraschino, like an actual cherry. Like it tastes like an actual cherry.
It's more like Luxardo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no caramel notes in this. Usually stouts have some like sweet edge.
No, this has a sweetness when you first take your sip.
But it's almost like it's malty, not caramelly.
I'll take that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no... When it finishes, there's no sweetness. And usually stouts have a sweetness. Which is interesting.
Which is weird for me because this is actually a very sweet stout. I'm getting a hyper sweetness that
really?
Actually, carries through the whole thing.
Tastes like Will Ferrell yelling about mahogany. Many leather-bound books. God damn it. That's my experience. That's what I think this beer is.
Coy is entirely right. But Will Ferrell...
Now that I've said that, close your eyes, remember the scene.
Mahogany!
Many leather-bound books! Tell me that's not that beer.
Saga. How dare you?
That tastes like Will Ferrell yelling. That's Will Ferrell in caps lock, folks. Alright, so Saga. I want to talk about the relationship with Marco, who never cheats on Alana because he loves her so much. Yeah. But they use a very common rom-com trope by introducing like a new pretty woman.
Yeah, and it's not even the new pretty woman. It's the emotional cheating that is but isn't. But because Marco is so lawful good.
Any discrepancy feels.
But he's also a berserker.
Yeah.
Which is actually another point I wanted to get into, is that we get a bit more of Marco's backstory. And we get him being like, I have to be good, I have to be good, I have to be good. And then when he's not, he is insane. He is your barbarian who would like to rage. He just goes.
Yeah.
And yet he's such a deep pacifist, but he is so intensely repressed, which is again why when he tries drugs for the first time, he overdoses. I kind of love that extremist aspect of his personality.
Can I say, and I really wanted to not be the guy that always identifies with the leads, I read this through for my second time, and not the third volume, but when I was reading it through to talk about it on Collider Heroes, and I kept being like, pick a supporting character that reminds me of me. I wanted to like hone in on someone.
I'm sorry, you talked about this on Collider Heroes?
I did the show, you know, on this network.
Was that before, or was that?
It was before Comic.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
So I did the show.
Speaking of infidelity,
I wasn't drinking there. That you know of. No, I wasn't drinking Collider Heroes. I drove. I live here. The thing about picking a sporting character is they're also well fleshed out, but they're all flawed in different ways. And I was like, I think I'm like Goose. I guess I'm kind of like the Will, but like I don't think I've ever identified with a lead character more than Marco. And you know me. I tend to go like hyper extreme. I'm not violent until I am, and like boxing and things. Like I wouldn't hurt someone unless they deserved it. But like I feel like Marco and his leaning in, I think that's why I can't smoke weed. I don't believe in moderation often.
I think Marco has a gentler spirit. Just go with it.
No, I'm with you. It's just like, no, you're worse.
No, I think it's more that for him, I feel like for you it's more of a choice, it's more of a thinking of, and for him it is so like, he just has to be the gentler version because you're way more outspoken. You're way more like...
But when he had that flashback, I was like, oh fuck. And I've never had that with a character that I was trying to not identify with. Like, I actively read this book going, like, don't think you're the lead. That's what the writer wants you to do. Everyone thinks they're the protagonist of their own story. I was consciously going, like, find someone else. And then that flashback happened, and I was like, oh, like, I identify with Marco in a very different way. And I think that's the value of the writing.
The value of this beer. So, the more I drink it, the more the flavor sits and stays. So the more complex it becomes because now I'm getting way more of the chocolate.
I'm getting more chocolate, but it's dark.
Yeah, so when we first started drinking it, you took a sip and it kind of disappeared and came back. And now that it's building within the mouth.
Yeah, it's kind of like accentuating the chocolatey and the initial, almost vanilla.
Yeah, so now that it's not disappearing, it's actually lingering and it's now building upon itself. And now we're almost getting the more like the smell of a leather armchair in a cigar
but
room.
Good.
Yeah.
Before we describe the beer further, Denton Jamie, who is in Cape Town, is heading out. I gotta head out. Much love to you, good sir. He waited till sunrise. The sun is up in Cape Town, and this man was with us.
Congratulations. Sunrise was one of my favorite times that I rarely, if ever, see. And if I see a sunrise like I did this morning, I go, I'm up way too early. This is really pretty. I wish I enjoyed this more. So thank you.
Enjoy your sunrise. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for ending and beginning your day with us.
Get a Vovicino in my honor.
Cheers to you.
To Cape Town and to you. You know when you have like a really good Cabernet and it opens up later in the drinking?
Man,
like the second glass? That's what this reminds me of. Like the second glass, how it's a very different glass than the first.
So a thing to know about me is I get horrific migraines. So I stopped drinking red wine years ago. But if you were here earlier, I'm a Napa kid, or Marin County, adjacent to Napa. So I drink a lot of red wine, especially Cab Sabs. So
wine Hellboy.
Oh, I have migraine medication, it's fine. So I used to be very, like, I'm talking mid-2000s, I was really up on, because 2001 was an extraordinary year for Napa wines. Opus 1 2001 is an extraordinary red. My God.
The lightest things you've ever said in my presence.
That's incredible.
2011 was an exceptional year.
Oh, sweetie, no, I said 2001.
Oh, pardon me.
So, I was someone who used to drink a lot of reds, but I also get horrific migraines, and I've had them since I was 6, and a trigger is definitely red wine.
I really like the idea of theming, because we haven't done that yet.
But the thing is, I miss red wine, and I'm trying to slowly get back into it. The whole, hey, Jimmy, who tried Saga again, I'm trying to test my boundaries on red wine.
She's pulling a quirky comics with Jimmy.
Similar but different. I used to hate peanut butter, and I finally started to like it a year ago.
That's so fucking weird to me. That is my main food group.
Peanut
there was a
butter
pyramid of my diet. The bottom layer is just different.
No, I walked in tonight, and he was just like eating peanut butter.
I forgot how much peanut butter it was. It was just like, I didn't even spoon out a knife.
Just like, you're eating it. I didn't, nothing wrong with that. I am now someone who enjoys peanut butter, so I'm like, I get it. It's a good source of protein. It's
it
great.
really is, and the kind of fats in it make you full longer. People think low fat is bad. It's not.
However, can I tell you what I do now with my peanut butter? Is I buy a thing of peanut butter, I scoop out the first quarter to use for whatever, and then in the rest of the jar, I let it warm up to room temp. I put in some coconut oil and some honey and some cinnamon. And I mix it all together.
It's just oatmeal without the oatmeal.
Oh,
you've made a journey.
It's so good.
But you do.
And I use it on everything.
You get a spoon.
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
Bag of chocolate chips. They adhere to the peanut butter.
Oh, see, but I already do that kind of, sorta, because as a dessert, I take a mostly ripe banana, slice it up. I have that mixture that I've already done with the peanut butter. And
honey, not oatmeal.
And also I do like the salted peanut butter too.
Fancy.
Yeah. Or I do like a little sea salt on it. And then I also put in some cocoa nibs and some like fair trade coconut
Have you done Hershey peanut butter?
I don't do Hershey because Hershey is a disgusting corporation. And they're also terrible chocolate. Don't do that to yourself.
It's very sugary plastic.
Love yourself.
Respect the planet and water.
Also love yourself more than to have Hershey because Hershey is disgusting chocolate.
That's fair. But a chocolate bar, peanut butter, chocolate bar, peanut butter. So you do a triple decker.
No, I haven't.
It's the right ratio because it's not quite enough. We got goals. Okay. We're gonna go not to see.
You know what? We're gonna do Hellboy and that.
Ian said, "Don't lose the Hershey sponsor, damn it."
You know what? I will go to my grave not having Hershey's money, and I'm okay with that.
I think one of the few companies I would turn down is Hershey's. Mm-hmm. Like, Nestle and Hershey's have ruined so much of this planet. That, like,
I'm okay with that.
And I just said that on the internet, so I think I'm standing by.
Hey, Nestle and Hershey's.
Deal with it. Do you know I turned down like a giant... I had an offer for I'm trying to be vague. I had a comic book offer at Comic-Con to do a hosting thing for an oil company, and they hid it under a number of shell corporations, and I kept tracing back the company, and it was like a giant oil company that was offering me way too much money, and I was like, this seems... So like I know I learned I had integrity 2019 Comic-Con because I was actually like, oh, that would pay for way more rent. What are they? Oh, fuck. So
fascinating,
right? That's what they're doing now. They're looking for influencers and they're hiding it in shell corporations.
Ew.
If you're a YouTuber and you're watching this, look at the company that's funding the company that's trying to pay you more money than you asked for because they're probably an asshole.
But at the same time, also ask for more than you think you should be paid, because you're like, oh, I think I only deserve like a little bit like this much. Then fuck it, look at what other people are making and just ask for it. I had that this week where I'm very passive. I'm obnoxiously female and the whole like, oh, I don't want to impose.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
so bad with money. Asking for it.
Yeah, and it's like I had a whole thing where like, oh, I feel bad because I make X rate when I'm doing wardrobe styling, and my indie friends who've been paying me here, and I finally went, hey, you know what? I make actually this, so what do you think? And they went, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It was really intensely, stressfully hard to ask for what I'm worth and what I make, because I felt bad about it, because I love my friends and I want them to make as much money as possible.
Sure.
But the reality is that
you have to eat.
I should too. And
so I got a manager.
And it worked.
He has to yell.
It was insane.
Yeah,
it was
bad.
Terrifying,
it's
and it worked.
The worst feeling is being like, I don't know, but then sometimes you get to have good beer.
Yeah, long story short, know your worth.
I feel like we've talked as much about everything else but Saga as Saga, but I also feel like all these things relate to Saga because wealth inequality.
Oh my god. This is actually kind of funny that we spent all of our time leading up to Saga talking about nothing but Saga and all these other shows, and we're like, Saga, we did this last time too, though.
But the book is about everything. And wealth, I wasn't fully kidding. Wealth inequality is a part of this book. I love the character that murders because of wealth inequality.
Oh, we're going to talk about Denko?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of alluded to Denko earlier. We have our Prince Robot the Fourth, and this is the kind of Game of Thrones reference. We have a legitimate love story. We have like him and the princess. She's not perfect. She's clearly very sheltered, but she's a good person. She's a good being, and she's pregnant. And he's off on this bullshit mission, and he's military, PTSD, all this stuff, deeply flawed.
Closeted.
Yeah, he's been through so much, and he lives in this world where he's not allowed to exist as a person, and the world he exists in horrifically pushes down the others. And I love that there's actually like they have, because we are given the prince and the princess, and we are shown that he has a color screen. And with Denko, who is a janitor, we are shown that there are black and whites. And then when we are shown the other guards, we're kind of shown that they're kind of like in between stage.
Yeah.
And then of course the king is like the flat
screen. What a beautiful
LCD.
Visual representation of wealth inequality, because that's actually what it is, very cut and dry. We lost when Denton had to go to bed because it's sunrise, but in South Africa, it is a fascinating, and these are words that are hard to say as a white dude with fucking all the privilege in the world, but in South Africa they talk about blacks, whites, and coloreds, and they still say colored as a denomination between black and white. And I hadn't experienced that as someone that grew up in America. And, you hear it in passing, but not as like a designation. And it was really interesting that they were in the middle of both sides. Like, white people got mad at colored people, black people got mad at colored people. And it was this really like, the animosity. But it was so clear where each party lived because they all separated themselves according to that, much like these TVs. Like, it was so like, bop, bop, bop. And it's just so horrific that we are all human. Like, we're all the same species, but we decide, or someone decides to go...
Similarly, I was just listening to a really interesting take on NPR where it's talking about the caste system in India and how we have so many people from India who are coming in for our tech sector in the U.S. And how it was talking about the immigrant experience, or at least the immigrant visa experience of coming into America and just being, oh, you are just how skilled you are, your knowledge base, and the caste system bullshit that they dealt with in their home country. So this is a great example of how America is extraordinary if you're coming from a place that seems incredible in its own right, but has its own set of like deep issues.
Yeah.
And you have the caste system in India, and you have these people who came to the US and are suddenly valued for what they know, versus, oh, but where were you raised? Oh, no, but which part of the city were you raised in?
Yeah.
Because, and the problem is that as the people they were interviewing started describing, is as more and more people came over and were then hired by this company, the caste system started becoming an HR issue within the companies, because they started experiencing the same discrimination they would have experienced in their home country. Because people said, oh, well, you're from Delhi, but where in New Delhi? Oh, from here? But from where? Oh, but who do you know?
Yeah.
Until it came to the point of, how should I treat you, rather than... So I guess, like, we do really have that.
And that storybook medium of Saga making it a visual is beautiful and it's clean. Like, you can tell so much story because it's so visually apparent.
So we quite literally, I think for the black and white TVs versus the color TVs versus the sort of in-between, I feel like the in-betweens were like the color that sold the VCR instead.
Yeah, the upper middle class.
I had that TV for a very long time.
The fucking Fast and the Furious 1 is about VCR TV combos being stolen.
We watched it, but I wasn't like
Jenny, you haven't seen the Fast movies?
No. He had a whole thing for his birthday party, and I showed up like halfway through like the third movie. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna drink and go outside.
We did all of them.
It was too much. I wasn't there for it. I had work. I showed up for a bit.
The next time you wrap a job, because systematically you'll have a break before your next job.
Yeah, but then I have to catch up on my life.
I know Fast and Furious is now your life. The thing you have to catch on is pop culture, and Fast and Furious is the most important non-comic book. Have you seen Lethal Weapon?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Well, you know what?
Of course.
You know the of course, because it happened before the 90s, or before. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it started before the 90s.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious is probably the best non-comic book franchise other than Lethal Weapon, for my money. And yes, that includes The Godfather.
It's funny you say non-comic book, because they get
it's full comic book now, but it wasn't. I think Fast and Furious is better than Godfather, and I said it on the internet.
I also haven't seen The Godfather. I have a list! I legitimately have a Google spreadsheet. Look, this is how I saw Undine!
Undine!
Coy knows about this
Somewhere
list.
Colin Farrell just got his wings.
Right? So, I legitimately have a list of movies and TV shows I haven't seen. I posited this to my Facebook friends years ago, and this is what, then Coy went, well, there's a movie that no one's heard of and yet you have to see. So we actually had a movie night.
And we skipped ahead all your list and read Undine.
And we went to the most indie obscure thing that no one has ever seen, and it was delightful, but Coy has a great story about it. And it's actually...
Undine led me to Ireland.
Undine, and I'm sorry I couldn't join you because of that trip. I'm glad you had it. But yeah, we there was going to be like a trip where we all went to Ireland, and my best friend and I, we just couldn't make it work at the time. But you went, you had an extraordinary time.
I went because of Colin Farrell and Undine, which is fate. So if you guys haven't seen Undine, watch it for us.
And the thing is, I want to go and I want to find that bay. It's so beautiful.
Movie's magic. If you haven't seen Undine, watch that and then watch Fast and Furious.
It's so wonderful.
I can't believe you still haven't seen Fast and Furious.
Yeah, no, I watched it, but there was it felt like a 90s thing with
It starts that way, and it's great. It's the first one's a retelling of Point Break. The first Fast and you haven't seen
I watched it
It's before the 90s!
Look, I watched it so long ago I don't remember it. That's another thing. I watched things when they came out, but it doesn't mean I remember them. Hey, someone commented something.
Also, our chat is they've been on this too long and they're back to talking
Jenny is
about...
one of my favorite other characters.
So, Wesley says, Jenny is one of my favorite other characters in Kenshin. I don't know how to pronounce that.
See, so Aoshi, great jacket, by the way. I'm so curious to revisit the show, because he comes in a later arc. I'm super curious to kind of revisit it now, with my own life experiences. There's things you love as a teenager versus things that you love as you've gotten a little bit older. I feel like Aoshi, I may not like him as much now that I'm older, because he's also look, there's a 14-year-old girl who's in love with him, and it's just awkward, and it's a whole idolization thing.
Yeah.
And he's just very cold and doesn't fucking get it. He doesn't understand his influence and the ways in which he is a positive influence on this person's life, and he's just mopey.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's oversimplifying. Kenshin is not one of those like just shoujo or shonen like teenage bullshit high school drama shows. It's been a while. I really love that show.
So
anyway, Saga.
We were deep into Fast and Furious to the point where Ian said, "Oh my!" He literally, he's trying to bring us back. He said, "Oh my God, I forgot this volume has a dragon blowing itself. Saga 29 is the best."
Okay, so this actually...
It is page 6 and 7 of issue Saga of 29.
Yeah, no, so watching that, the funny thing was, I actually have a note of page 249, their faces just so good, oh my God, Fiona Staples. So let's see if I can give you just their faces without the dragon blowing itself.
I mean, the internet doesn't have any rules against dragons blowing themselves. I think you too.
There is also a really heavy D&D moment that actually occurs prior to this scene. So, I actually almost open to it. So, yeah, there we go. So the girls are, we have Sophie, and then the actual sister Sophie, and then what's her name?
Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn. Are there essentially, in order to bring the Will back from his coma, they're trying to get some dragon jizz, and
as you do.
And these girls are on this fucking.
But you need a male dragon. Male dragons are rare.
Yeah. And there's just this moment where Sophie realizes, wait, you have to Gwendolyn, you have a translator, like pendant, so she uses the translator pendant to then talk to the female dragons who are attacking them to translate. It's like a thing that I've done in my D&D campaigns that annoyed the fuck out of a DM I had 2 years ago, and it was great, was he gave us a bunch of wolves who were supposed to destroy our group, and because this is like level 1 shit, I had speak with animals, and I went, I can't speak with animals, and I talked to the wolves and went, hey guys, what's going on? What are you upset about? And they went, we're really hungry and we've been enslaved by some goblins. I went, well, here, I'll give you the food that I have and I'll set you free so you can go attack the goblins. And they went, this is a great plan. And then they ended up like taking out half the goblins so we didn't have to fight half of them. And the DM was like, this was supposed to be your first big fight. I went, why didn't we just talk it out?
Think smart, not hard.
So this actually happens in this book where there are numerous dragons that these girls are about to fight, and young Sophie, the rescued sex slave, is like, why don't we just talk to them? And it entirely changes the battle, and I absolutely love it. She's like, I want to be friendly, and they're like, oh, you can actually talk to us.
And that's another commentary on like our going into battles and wars. Like sometimes it is just a matter of the conversation, and that is something this book.
So page 249
lends itself to.
249. God, I love it. I just love it so
I'm so
much.
excited to reread all of it for our volume 3.
There we go. Oh, Fiona's so good. Okay, I'm gonna do like the whole like boop 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 boop. Make sure I just kind of top down into this. There it is. Do you see their amazing faces? Look at Gwendolyn's face. This is the face they see when they realize the dragon is sucking its own dick. Look at their faces. It's so good.
I have a theoretical for you. Do you think if male...
Should we just do
Yeah,
this?
we should. I mean,
also,
let the internet have
so you
it.
can all
Here's
see.
the splash page for you. Yep.
Yeah, he getting it.
Yep.
He getting
That's
it.
right.
He getting
Just
it.
having a time.
Oh.
So my theoretical.
Yeah.
If the male of our species could do that, do you think we would get more done because there'd be less war and less abuse of women and less pent-up frustration, or less done because men would only be doing that?
Both?
It can't be more and less. I'm saying, do you think society would further itself?
Yeah, no,
or devolve?
but what you just said, basically, the way you talk about society furthering itself is because of sucking themselves up. It's because basically the men would be busy sucking themselves up.
Right, so women can get shit done.
It's like Why the Last Man.
Right.
It is literally tying us back into Why the Last Man, where
Which
they
is what
actually
we're
have
talking so much about Saga.
they have an extremely peaceful, progressive society where they get shit done because they don't.
Because guys are busy jerking themselves off. Well, they're dead in that universe,
Yeah.
but in our universe,
they're genetically jerking themselves off.
yeah. I mean, I wonder how society would go if guys had that option.
Well, the funny thing is, like, guys have the option to take care of their shit. They just
And they do often.
which then also ties us into the boys, where they take care of each other sometimes.
Right. I really think Herogasm is going to be a fantastic...
Because here's the thing. So, end of Volume 4...
How far are you in reading?
Volume 4.
Okay.
So, Herogasm is Volume 5.
Because they grab out of everything for the show.
I don't have Volume 5.
They're not doing continuity. They're literally just taking...
And so Herogasm is Volume 5.
Yeah.
I don't have Volume 5.
Okay.
It's just sold out everywhere right now, by the way.
Is it not Comixology digital, or are you trying to get it in print? So you could do it digital.
I forgot about Comixology.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
But, Saga. Dragons blowing themselves.
Man.
Okay, we covered wealth inequality briefly.
Why though? Okay.
Because that's a huge part of this volume.
Actually, infidelity.
Infidelity, the babysitter.
Yeah.
The infidelity that isn't there,
but
I think is a fascinating concept.
Babysitter she's the dance instructor. Mm-hmm. So that's a better way to talk about her. She's the dance instructor.
She's dance instructor, and it's emotional infidelity, not physical infidelity, which is sometimes worse.
Yeah. Depending on
the relationship.
Honestly, like that's the thing that I had a relationship like 10 years ago where, look, I thought it was just emotional, just a lot of both. But it depends on, because there's the whole term like work wife. There's the people that you kind of fall in lust with, or you fall in this, you have these sweet relationships that kind of give you that outside like hit that you need. Yeah. Without like, oh, I need to physically remove myself. Right. But it's people who are like, oh, now I'm in love with, which I think is far worse, because physically sucks. Sure. If it's like a one time or like a few times.
But it's over.
Yeah. Right. If someone is like actually moving away from you, that's a longer, harder hurt.
But that's the conversation of like, chemical, how humans are wired. Like, we by some scientific approaches aren't wired for monogamy, so it's how we approach those conversations and the broader spectrum. And I feel like, if there was ever a comic to address, polygamy, Saga does. There are other comics that do it more, but Saga does address those concepts of like open relationships and things. And I feel like Alana's not into it. And I don't think that's what Marco's going for, but I do feel like he has a relationship with the babysitter or the.
He has. It's interesting because I, having had a really traumatic cheating experience, look at what he did as very gentle, because also his character and his nature and his desire to do good and to be good. So I used to have a very black and white view of cheating, and now that I've just gotten older and had more experience, I understand everything is far more nuanced. And what happens with him is it's a very nuanced, gentle, where she sees an opening, she being the dance instructor, and attempts to exploit it, and he exploits it emotionally but not physically. Yeah. Yeah, because
he's not getting that home because of fadeaway.
And that's the thing, because his wife, who's understandably putting herself in harm's way,
not condoning it for either party.
Yeah, so Alana is in a dangerous, upsetting, difficult, strange situation. She's separated from her family. She has to numb herself to like get through the day. Yeah. So she is losing her connection to her family. He's losing the connection to her. It is a great, fantastical way to explain how very basic cheating situations happen. And that's a great thing. It's like, it is the real life through fantasy that we get through Saga.
And every volume, all three of them, are moments in your life, whether you're 12 or 50 or 80, that you'll go like, oh, that's this in fantasy. And I do, like, I've never been in a relationship where I've done that, but I've definitely been in relationships where that's been a conversation, or what cheating is a conversation. I've also had friends that have actually been in those situations, and it's really interesting seeing it through like horns and wings and these things that feel so fantastical, because it almost makes it more digestible. But I mean, this is 18 issues of comics, and it's got wealth inequality, drug use, cheating, and all of these very human things. Yeah. I think for the last year we should talk about Petrichor.
Well, actually, what I want to talk about before we get to Petrichor is Marco's repression. And what happens with Marco...
That's why I identify with Marco.
Well, where I'm going with this is Marco is a pacifist, but is also barbarian, I would like to rage extremist. Mm-hmm. Marco is someone who denies his base nature to the point that he explodes outwards at really inopportune moments. So on one hand, he, kind of like the Kenshin argument, he is a pacifist who is an extraordinary fighter. and we get flashbacks to him in the wartime. But when we're talking about him in current time, we have Marco, who's a pacifist, who then nearly beats someone's skull in because he gets a taste of blood and is just getting something out of his system, and it's scary. And he has a moment when he lashes out at Alana, where he throws some groceries at her, which I'm gonna say, like, he beats himself up for it, and I love that he's upset about it, but Alana deserved it. Like, she's doing drugs around their kid and is becoming a drug addict, and he's frustrated, and he throws a bag of groceries. He's not hitting her, but he's still throwing something at her, which eats him up inside. I love that about him as a character, but I feel like he is... Oh man, that's some foreshadowing, actually. He is so desperate to adhere to this ideal that he's denying a part of his base nature that ultimately leads to something extremely destructive for him. So instead of allowing himself to experience and to be the full version of himself, he holds this ideal version, which holds him back from greater potential.
I would argue, and this is a very, I don't want to say controversial, but this is a conversation that's bigger than the statement, but I would argue that's a big part of what we're going through as a society with gender stereotyping. I feel like there are way more nuances than like males need violence and females need nurturing, and that's why the gender spectrum has been misanalyzed.
Hey, gender is a fucking construct.
So
it's bullshit.
What I'm speaking to is we've looked at these things in this very black and white nature because of that spectrum not being a spectrum, because we'd seen it in a very like boop boop. Yeah. And I think that there are people that feel like I'm feeling this way, but that doesn't suit my gender, and then they fucking repress. And then I also feel like there are people that are like, that does feel like my gender, but this is too extreme to be publicly approachable.
Fair.
So like I love fighting. Like, and that's not a socially acceptable thing. Mm-hmm. Like, when I went to Ireland, I fought at SBG, and I had such a rush of...
that sounds so fun.
Literally, like, mixed martial arts with professional fighters where I didn't be like, I knew I wasn't going to get sued. I just got my ass kicked, and I got my ass kicked fucking quickly. Within 3 minutes, I was bleeding from the ear, the eye, and the nose, and I was like, yes! Because that doesn't... I hadn't found that circle here, right. And I found it immediately there, which was really weird. But that's the repression I feel like most people go through, and Marco embodies repression through swallowing his emotions, whereas Alana bottles her repression with drugs. Yeah. And I feel like those are the most American standard ways to fucking handle things. Yeah. Like, you either fucking band-aid it, or you just fucking like have a problem and you sit with it.
Fair. Yeah, I can see that.
So I think that's why I identify with Marco, is like, you know, I use my quiet punch and I box, and those things help, and that helps me get those things out. But it's not American comfortable to say that you enjoy fighting.
Which is weird, because it depends on your political alignment.
Yeah.
Because if you are...
all of our friends are so lefty, I'm like, I can't talk to them about like wanting to punch something.
Yeah, but I also I'm very middle.
You know.
Yeah, like I'm a military family, but I'm also a liberal upbringing. So I'm very... look... So, I exist well in both worlds, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Up to a point. But, yeah, there is an interesting thing that happens when the gloves of litigation come off. Mm-hmm. And our litigation exists because our healthcare system sucks. Because you can fuck someone's shit up in the UK and go to the hospital and get your shit taken care of without it ruining your life.
Yeah. We get in the wrong fight, and it's the rest of your life.
There is part of that.
And so it's really interesting with, you know, something like violence. He breaks the sword in Volume 1, and he's tunneling, and he's pushing down all this animosity that is part of him because of societal expectations.
So in Volume 2, I don't think it's explored. I need to reread and then read Volume 3, but there is an avenue for some sadomasochism for Marco, because he again, with the Berserker thing, he's such a natural pacifist, but he's also has this deep repression where he beats himself up because there's a girl who is literally setting fire to his dog, and she's practicing fire spells on his dog. So of course he beats the shit out of her. She deserved it. She was doing something wrong, and she needed, like, she was doing animal abuse. That is when you absolutely throw it, like...
I would murder for my cat.
Yeah. So, like, but this is not an adult to child, this is child to child violence. So this is him doing the right thing. If this was adults, it would be him doing the right thing in beating this girl who is literally setting fire to his dog. But his father physically beats him with a belt for it. And he, of course, is horrified by his actions and horrified by losing control and hurting this girl, which is it's a good thing to it's very idealistic to have a gentle approach to violence and to have had the right and correct approach to the horror she was inflicting upon his dog. But in the scene of his father, Bar, beating him with a belt to tell him that what you did was wrong, the word that he is saying over and over, which is what brings him out of his drug overdose, because this is the repressed memory he's having, is thank you. So it is this self-flagellation of I'm wrong, I'm bad, so maybe that's why he's with Alana, actually.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It's really interesting because the things we repress are usually so much a part of what we're trying to be.
But it's fascinating. Like, I feel like if he went to whatever the sex asteroid, the sex planet is, he would just be tied up and beaten and, like, ball gagged with the whole, like,
Sextillion
mask.
is just like...
Sextillion, that's it.
Yeah.
He would be... Marco would find his fucking kink with Sextillion. He would figure out that he loves being told he's bad while being bowed and restrained. That is Marco. Marco is a secret sadomasochist. No. He's not a sadist. He is a masochist. He is 1,000% a masochist, and he is a bottom times 10. You heard it today on comic books and craft beers.
Last beer?
This is the last one. This is it. No, we're done.
Isn't there a pretty one?
No, we do 3. Coy, I have to be a person. We do 3 alcohols. We started with a shot.
We did.
We did 3 beers. There is another one in the fridge, but it is essentially the exact same as the KBS.
We don't know that.
I do. I had it last night.
Oh, did it taste similar?
Very similar.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what? Honestly, not as good.
Oh.
And the owner of Vendome and one of his regular customers were talking about how good it was and how amazing it was, and I'm like, okay. So I got a chilled one out of the fridge, and I got, like, the one for us, and I went home and I was like, I guess it was a long day. I'm gonna have the chilled one as I read the rest of Saga. I thought I was halfway. No, I was a quarter away. I went, oh no.
You were up 3/4 yesterday?
Last night when I got back from work.
It's a solid day.
In about 2.5 hours. It was great. And I went, this beer's okay. And now that I've had
the superior,
that beer was just okay.
Well, the chat is saying we have to break the record. We need another hour.
Sorry, guys.
I'm not.
I can't do it this time. I have shit to do. I have so much shit to do. I have too much.
So this, I do believe, has been volume 2 of Saga. We got into the many, many nuanced perspectives it offers. If you haven't read Saga and are on now hour 2+ of this, I imagine it's been very confusing.
Thank you.
But if you have read Saga, do give it a reread because there's so much going on in this book at all times. I'm thinking, what you said, the 13th? There's Friday the 13th?
There's literally Friday the 13th.
That seems pretty...
I was going to say, because my next D&D game is going to be this.
Friday the 13th. I tend to keep my Fridays clear, so I like the idea of Friday the 13th. We will do volume 3. I'm going to reread through all of Saga to get to that point. Wesley says, Jenny, thanks for being a weeb with me.
Wesley, no, thank you. You're kidding? Like, the fact that Kenshin was the shit 15 years ago. So for anyone who knows what I'm talking about, just thank you.
Jenny's gonna be the voice of reason and not have us open our 4th beer. No. And Jeff says, Jeff Lee says we also saw a dragon blow himself, so I'd say the show was 11 out of 10. You know what?
Thank you.
We bring the content, and that's what we're here for. This has been an over 2-hour episode. We said it was gonna be 2 hours, but as ever, we soldiered on well past that point.
You did good.
I think Hellboy and or the Boys is gonna be like.
What if, and again, we do have the Hellboys.
The Hellboys. Because the third one is a different actor and it's a different tone altogether.
Oh really?
Hellboy 3 is David Harbour from Stranger Things.
What?
Yeah, it goes from Ron Perlman to David Harbour because they were going to start a new franchise.
What?
They completely ignored the first two recently and just made a third one. And what's fascinating about Hellboy is it's the first time I've seen them do a translation, not an adaptation, and it goes horribly.
Oh.
Because the comic book medium and film medium are different. Yeah. They literally try to do a panel for panel and it doesn't work.
It never works.
So
well, unless it's
The Boys. Well, no, The Boys is a translation.
No. I was gonna say Nope, there goes my brain.
Sin City, Frank Miller is pretty close.
No, I was gonna say Sin City, Frank Miller, and I was gonna say no, that's it.
Because even look at like Civil War. Look at like these. You have to adapt to the medium, and that's what we're talking about at the beginning of the show. Adapting to the medium did not work for Hellboy with David Harbour.
So they tried to go like literal. Never go literal comic books.
And it's fascinating.
Dumb.
It's a fascinating journey.
Oh, so I should watch it just so I know how bad it is.
But that could be fun as the third one, because then that'd be like 3 sheets to the wind.
So guys, this is when we go to our Twitch stream. This is just it. What if we're drinking for 9 hours? God help us.
I think that's a great idea. To me, that's what Fridays are. Yes, please.
That's what the weekend is.
I mean, it would translate. It would go into the weekend.
Fair.
So what that could be is our like first Twitch stream. Because I've never used Twitch ever. I don't know how to fucking do it.
Oh my god.
I'd have to have like someone help.
Oh. Even I have a Twitch channel.
I think I have one. I just don't know how to do it. Is it the same? Just press like Twitch? Is there just like a... Because there's a lot with YouTube. Anyway, we're going to do The Boys. We're going to do Hellboy. But first, we're going to do Saga Volume 3, probably November 13th. I hope you had a fun time. This was a journey.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a little bit more whiskey off camera.
And thank you for joining us on this. And thank you to every single person who stuck through our last episode because we drank. See, this time we did the thing where we did...
We've only had a beer and a half.
And we sampled our beers and we split them. Last time we were idiots and assholes and we had one each.
And they were all stronger than any of these.
It was like...
These are 6%ers and I think we had 9%ers last time.
We had 11% last time.
All of them. And we had individual beers. So frankly, choices were made.
I haven't even watched the last one. I know we got...
It's not short.
Boy, we went for like over 3 hours.
Yeah.
So for every single person who not only watched us live, but then also just sat down at a different day in their life and went, I'm going to watch these people. Someone said that I had someone say I watched you in 2 times.
Amazing.
Amazing. But again, thank you. And just, look, we would just do this by ourselves, but having people join us and having the conversation is so much fun.
Yeah, the conversation, especially in the live chat, is always zesty. I want to thank Jason Ritchie, Ian Roth, Denton Jamie from South Africa, Dr. Nitrogen's Musical Empire, Ian Roth with his casting choices, Comic Quirks with Jimmy, who we converted to the side of Pro Saga, Wesley Marshall, who was an anime fan alongside Jimmy. Thank you all very, very much.
Danny Bell, just for being you. Just in general, thank you, Danny Bell.
It's almost 3 in parts of the country. Where are you guys? It's almost 3.
That would be the East Coast. What time is it right now?
No, it's only 10.
Oh, no. Wait.
It's 1 a.m. there. 10, 11, 12, 1. See, I can still do quick time math. I haven't had nearly enough beer for
You know what they are? They're on a fishing boat out in the middle of the Atlantic.
Ooh, they're cruising towards somewhere. Well, your mom! Okay, your mom's wrapping up. Both your moms stayed the whole time.
Wait.
See?
Oh my god.
That's your mom.
Mom, go to bed.
And then my mom was like just up here. Yep.
Aww.
The mom's doing the work.
Aww.
Hell yeah. Oh, we're about to drop an hour on Saturday. Daylight savings.
That's right.
Guys, if we had a functioning government, we'd have Halloween on a full moon for the first time in 76 years. It would have been on a Saturday, and we'd wake up to an extra hour of sleep on that Sunday.
This was going to be the best year of all of our lives, and instead it was the worst.
Yeah, we had like 5 Fridays in February because it was a leap year and it fell on a Friday. Like, so much.
Look, you know what this year is all about? Managing expectations.
This year's about repression.
Yeah, it is. So, we're about to rage. I would like to rage. I play a barbarian in one of my games. I would like to rage.
She's got goals. The 13th, conceptually, Volume 3, Saga. If there are specific drinks you think we should try, put them in the comments. Let us know. Like, subscribe, all the things YouTubers say. And
do you have your Tavour thing?
Oh yes, if you guys want, Tavour has Tavour.
I did it. It's great.
Tavour. If you use the code KOI10, my name plus 10, you get $10 off after you spend $25 on craft beer that is delivered to your home directly to you. Don't go out and get the Rona. Get the beer delivered straight to you. Leave it on your porch. Rona free. Have some beer. Craft goodness. Don't buy Coors. It's not for you. Enjoy. Tavour, Coy-10, $10 off after 25. Also, if you like boxing, because you are like a Marco, like myself, use code KOYJ over on Quiet Punch. You get $10 off boxing equipment, because I am the most cliche Irishman you know with beer and boxing sponsors. I lean into my stereotypes. And I appreciate you all very much. We will see you on the 13th November, and then after that, the boys or Hellboy will figure out.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out.
We'll do a vote, or like a Twitter vote, like a Twitter poll. Okay. Let's let the people decide.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of your Friday. I'm gonna try to close this. It's not gonna go well. Why is there?
Stop.
It's going poorly.